going to mute our mics and let people get into the chat room, and then we'll start in just a couple minutes. I'll mute you for now. Oh, you got it? Okay. Yeah, that sounds good, Abu. What's up, Red Pill Lifesaver? You the chat room MVP, man. Comment section MVP. Red Pill Lifesaver. What's going on, Celeste? Are you in France? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and start. This is Guy King. What's up to everybody in the chat room and all my guests? I'm gonna let y'all introduce yourselves in just a minute. I just want to say a couple of things first. We lost. We lost in the West. Feminism has won. Racism has won. We lost. We got to face that, and I think we really don't have a whole lot of other choices than to relocate, look for better options elsewhere. I think we're facing three big problems here. I think we have financial problems. The cost of living is going up as the West crumbles. Wages are not going up. I think we're facing laws of or law enforcement problems. I think a combination of police misconduct aimed specifically at so-called minorities like us, it's made it unsafe for us to be here. I think the marriage and child support laws have made this a risky place to raise a family. So people who do want to reproduce, I really don't see it as a viable option doing it here in the West, especially not in America, places like America and Canada. And then three, the women here. And that relates back to number two, but feminism has destroyed our options. Seems to me like, the men here, they think that it's okay to be with the women here. And usually it's just because they've never been anywhere else. A lot of times, if you get another option or you get another experience and you see other options, you realize how bad you have it back at home. So I just wanted to get you guys together and talk about this and see if we could come up with some plans, because I don't want to be, over optimistic about leaving the country, because there are pros and cons to it, just like everything else. I just wanted to get some guys on here who are abroad, who know what's going on. So I'll start with Abu. If you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your channel. And I got it linked. I got all y'all's channels linked already in the description box. You can go ahead and tell us where you're at. Tell us where you've been.
Okay. Does this sound okay here? You guys can hear me okay? It's a new mic, so I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I hear you just fine.
Right. Good stuff. Well, as it says, Abuamerican. I am American. My channel is generally just some red pill based advice. Although I've slowed down a lot lately. Just giving guys general ideas based off my observations and experiences that I get from other people, myself, direct experiences. I've been living outside the United States consistently, unbroken for 30 years straight. I haven't set foot inside the United States in that time. I lived in 6 countries, visited about 40-something countries. And so, I got a lot of experience, life experience, less so in terms of like actual education, but, it seems like my experience is more valued in the professional world than my actual education is at this point in time in my age. I'm going on 45. So, that's what my channel is about, basically just like my experiences, especially in regards to like women and intergender relations in the 21st century, and how, like you said, it's a downhill race, man. It's like it's a race to the bottom. And it seems like the West is leading that race really fast. So that's the real basics of it all right there. If you want to just cut down to the brass tacks.
Well, I'm jealous of you. Just want you to know that. I can't believe I'm still here in the States. I can't believe it. Every time I get on that plane to come back home, it's depressing, man.
Oof. But nice. Where do you travel to, bro?
Man, I've been most continents, not Asia, not Australia. So nowhere out in the Pacific. But I've been all across Europe, Africa, a little bit of South America. We'll talk about it. What about you, Senator? You want to go ahead and?
Yeah, sure. My name is Jesse McQuilkin. My channel is the Center of Truth. Basically, my channel is really, it's about, for people who want truth and self-development. So it's for people who want to improve their lives and various things like that, and basically solutions, and basically helping people self-improve and understand what is really going on in society, and basically give you the truth, right? I'm basically UK based. It's really to wake people up in a red pill form. And basically I focus on videos like human nature, self-development, red pill truths of the world. And I basically deliver those subjects with like series, videos, regular Google Hangouts. And, the type of content I do is, empowerment for men and women, red pill knowledge and truths, show you the corruption of the world, self-improvement, books that may be of value to people, fitness as well, male nature, female nature, and also game and relationships. And I do my YouTube channel on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Sundays. I do regular live streams. Check out my Facebook page to basically know about that. And that's my introduction.
Sounds good. What about you, Square? You there, Square Peg?
Yeah.
Just want to tell us a little
Yeah,
bit.
my name's Square Peg. My channel is called Square Peg too. I'm just kind of like a nerdy black dude that puts up MGTOW videos, mostly like science based and some philosophy stuff like that. Only from like the New York area, but now I live in the Midwest, and I've been all over Europe and Latin America too a little bit, mostly Central America though.
Sounds good. I had Xanatos Clutch in here a second ago. I guess he fell out. Hope he comes back because he's got a lot of good knowledge about traveling and dealing
Hey,
with things abroad. Go ahead.
can I interject real quick? Square Peg, man, your channel's blowing my mind with that scientific level stuff, man. Really, you're not even getting 1/10 of the views and the viewers you should have, man. This stuff is next level.
I appreciate that, man. But yeah, that's how it is though.
I would agree. Well, so where do we need to go? What do we need to do? I'm an advocate of going to Africa. My experiences there have been pretty favorable. It's a whole lot easier to start businesses there than anywhere else I've ever been. Buying property, owning your land, owning your home, being in control of your own destiny seems to be easier there. So I'm an advocate for East Africa. In fact, not South Africa, not West Africa, but East Africa. It's very safe. Go ahead.
Yeah, I know a lot of people who even one of my work colleagues who seems like a female, she actually is blown up in Africa regarding her business. So yeah, straight up, that is true. A lot of, especially people here in the UK, are targeting Africa to basically grow their businesses.
Yeah, I mean, you can land today and actually have a business open tomorrow. That's just how easy it is there.
Oh, damn, that's crazy.
It's not a whole lot of paperwork. And I mean, they will bust your balls a little bit about the paperwork, but only after you become successful. Like, I ran a business there for a while and I wasn't really succeeding at it, so they didn't really bust my balls. It was actually illegal. Like, I didn't have the licenses and things like that. They're not worried about that until you actually start making real money. And a lot of guys here don't know it's an option. It's a viable option. I mean, like barbers, just simple professions. Barbers can go over there. You can open up a barber shop immediately, be making money immediately. The real estate market there, I think, is the best in the world because the properties are like doubling and tripling in value real fast. Farming, people that know how to get into farming, that's something that they need over there. Pays a lot.
Yeah,
Cost of living very low. Go ahead.
I was in Kenya and I opened a business there. I had two businesses. One was agricultural exports. Kenya does a lot of agricultural exports. They do predominantly, I think it was tea, but we were focused on the avocado sector because avocados is Kenya's big thing. And I had a human manpower agency, but eventually had to cut them both down. But yeah, it is very simple to open businesses there, and it's very what's the word? It's like you said, it's just a necessity at the moment. The reality is, guys like us who have a vested interest in there, because of we're looking to set up there long term, need to make moves because the reality is China's going to take over, and their interest is more like of a local type mentality where they're going to come in, just ravage the place and keep moving. So yeah, in that regard, you're more welcomed also.
Definitely more welcome. I was welcomed everywhere over there except Ethiopia for whatever reason. They didn't like me. That's the only place I've gotten a fight.
What's the culture like there, though?
The Ethiopian culture, they're a little bit more westernized, it seems, in the cities. Now, their cities and their country or their rural areas are like night and day. Like, I wouldn't go to the cities. But a lot of them are Christian. And they brag about being the only place that was never colonized, yet they're all Christian. So
yeah, I think that's one of the first places where Christianity was. They got them crazy churches that are dug in the rocks or whatever.
But guess what? One of their ministers, I had a long chat with one of them. He was telling me that the Christian religion isn't even real, and they know this. He's a minister, actually up near Queen Sheba's old castle, because Queen Sheba was an actual historic figure.
Yeah.
And I went
The
to her
fun,
castle. Go ahead, go ahead.
you know, the funny thing, you know, when you said that Christianity is not real, right? Um, the funny thing is I've been trying to tell people this in the UK. They think I'm absolutely nuts, right? Because you know, there's if you actually look, because I was actually born a Christian, right? I was baptized, all that good stuff, right? But I no longer consider myself a Christian. Um, I'm pretty much an atheist now. I actually told my parents that. Um, yeah, there's just a lot of things about Christianity that just doesn't add up. You know, when you actually go and study the Bible, you know what I'm saying? For example, you'll be going to churches and you are basically worshiping a white man. You know what I'm saying? Like you, you know, when you really look at it, like I always said, you know, well, not what I said, but you know, what a lot of people say is if you look at, you know, the let's say the melanation of the people, right, is it doesn't add up to the story because the person's let's say their skin complexion is basically based of where they are on the earth. If you get what I'm saying.
And he was so-called Middle Eastern, so he couldn't have
Yeah.
looked like that, obviously.
And they made him a Caucasian white. So I never really got that. There's a lot of things I could talk about Christianity where
We
it
can have
just
that.
doesn't add up.
We'll have that one. We'll have that talk
Yeah.
one day.
Yeah. Hey, you know, one thing I noticed though, in some African states, not all of them, but some of them, when you're talking about having a bad experience in Ethiopia, there does tend to be in some states a mentality that is very harsh against African Americans, where they,
Yeah.
you know, they view us as like, you know, previous slaves or whatever else. And I noticed that Ethiopia is one of those places that I've heard about more than once where they like view us in a negative light. You tend to find that Nigerians who have migrated to the West pick up that mentality. But actual, like back at the, I guess you want to call it the homeland or the home country, they tend to be a little bit more significantly more welcoming. Because I know quite a few Nigerians and I get along with most of them, but there are some of them that just, they got that. And I've never met any that have that like anti-African American mentality that are actually living in and you know grew up in Nigeria. It's only the ones. It's actually only British ones. What's up with that, bro?
Yeah.
What's up with the Nigerians in Britain, man?
Nigerians in Britain, like I don't really come much. I don't really come in contact with much Nigerians in Britain, so I can't really tell you much in regards to that. You know,
I don't know. I used to live with Nigerian dudes when I lived in Manchester, actually, in the projects. They were pretty cool.
Yeah, no, and most of them tend to be cool, but the ones that I find that have that mentality, you know, there are very few of them. There's a few of them, and they are always British ones. I think about it. I haven't met any. No, yeah, they're all British ones. I think about it.
One of the
Just
things I
saying that I
noticed,
did have to whoop one of their asses, though.
I noticed that other Africans don't like Nigerians at all. Like every single country I ever went to, they all said Nigerians stay away from them. But then my personal experiences with Nigerians were positive though.
Yeah, mine too. They have a reputation as being scammers. That much I know.
What's up in the chat room, Abdullah? No, I did not go to Sudan. Sudan is one of the only Eastern African countries I did not go to. They had a lot of war going on while I was over there.
I had a friend that lived there a while. I met him in Qatar.
Yeah. What's up, DJ Batman? Yeah. Africa's to me, East Africa is where you got to be at. They're trying to make a East African Union between Burundi, Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda. And they're trying to become one nation. I think they have one passport now. But I recommend.
Have y'all heard about the Silk Road or whatever?
I have not.
Basically, China's trying to build like a railway system and all types of other stuff, and they're trying to connect a bunch of stuff in Africa to like Eastern Europe and China and Russia and stuff like that. So it's definitely going to be more connected in the future.
That sounds good. Now, when they connect Africa, are they talking about Egypt and Egypt only? Because a lot of times
Well,
they try to do that.
building railways all throughout like West Africa and stuff like that.
Wow.
In East Africa too, wherever basically they got oil and resources, they're trying to build railway systems to get the stuff out.
I see. I guess that can be good and bad because that's going to bring a lot of westernization to Africa, and then that's going to not be a destination we want to be at.
Well, yeah, it's boom times right now, but the biggest thing, like I said, is what I've noticed. The biggest complaint they're having is the Chinese are moving in quite rapidly, and they're coming with massive amounts of, finance backing them. So, the time to act is really now.
We're the only ones
Yeah.
not there. You see everybody else, they're getting a piece of Africa except us. I can't figure out why.
To be honest, with me, I have no reason to go to Africa. There's just nothing there for me. Like if I did go there, so
Have you ever been?
nope, just have no interest in going there.
Okay, having no interest, I think, is a little bit different than saying there's nothing there for you.
Oh yeah, let's say that then.
Very different, yeah.
Because
Okay, but let me ask you. I'm sorry, may I interject? I'm
Yeah,
just
go ahead,
curious
go
as to why you have this feeling. I mean, I grew up in Europe. But nonetheless, when we look at like the current condition of Western society, gynocentrism and how it's just basically overpowering everything, the regressive left and how they're bringing down the morality of the society we live in. LBGT, pedophilia is becoming normalized, just like gay marriage now. I mean, all of this stuff is interconnected when we look at it from a social aspect. So what's the appeal out here in the West? When we look at the West is that it has surpassed its apex. If we really look at the reality of the West, if we look at circling monkeys, egalitarian cycle, we're on a downhill stroke. And I mean, I think it's undeniable at this point, especially when we look at it from a moralistic, standpoint. What's the appeal in staying out here? I'm just from that perspective. If I present it like that,
Well, staying in the West,
yeah,
there's not really much besides obviously the technological advances, the health. Well, I only could talk from living in the UK, right? So because I haven't like been anywhere in the West besides the UK, but I have been to Caribbean islands like Trinidad, Grenada, St. Lucia, and also I'm going to America hopefully sometime this year, New York. But really, when you really look at it, is obviously, if I would say today the UK, what's really great about living in the UK is first off the accessibility of the transport. Seeing the diverse countries, like a lot of diversity in the country. For example, a lot of people who like come over from like the UK, or coming over to the UK or whatever, sometimes they still display the so-called cultures that they still have. They still keep that within them, where sometimes they're not so like, let's say whitewashed or westernized. So that's something I'll definitely say, which is a benefit from the UK. The reality is I would honestly, because you don't know, I actually have Asperger's syndrome, all right? Okay. And I'm partially like disabled as well. Is if that wasn't the case, I would have already moved out of this country a long time ago. I would have probably moved somewhere else. But because Britain has some of the best healthcare, has some of the best things that is, let's say, attributed to Asperger's syndrome and autism and things like that, that's the only reason why I was staying in this country. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's really why I go there. But besides that, there's a lot in the UK that you could do. And to be honest, I've always pretty much made up my mind that I probably would probably die in the UK, or I'll probably just move maybe to Japan or somewhere in my old retirement age or something like that.
Japan.
Yeah.
I want to hear about Japan. Why do you say Japan?
The thing is like, I don't know what it is. It was like since I was like a very, very young kid, like I don't know what it is. The Japanese culture always really attracted me. I even had like a Japanese like girlfriend at one point who was actually a native Japanese, actually came to the UK, but life didn't work out, so she had to move out. It was a whole bunch of stuff. So there was a lot in regards to the culture and the Japanese culture that really attracted me, and I always was fascinated by it. You know, even because in the UK they even have like a few Japanese channels where you can actually look at the Japanese culture. It always really attracted me, so that's why. And also, what I also found out is they treat older people a lot more better there, based off you know, like the healthcare for the elderly and things like that. Yeah, because that's what my ex-girlfriend told me and things like that. So that's why I would pretty much be there.
Have you heard of the herbivore men? The
Yeah, I heard.
men movement over there.
I know about the herbivore men, and like I know quite a bit about them and why they're doing it. A lot of MGTOW basically claim that, oh, you know, the herbivore men is a branch of MGTOW. It's not necessarily true. All it is MGTOW and also herbivore men have two different reasons why they're opting out. You know, so really you can't really take the credit of herbivore men to be in MGTOW. They're just a completely separate.
I don't know if they're
base.
MGTOW or not. I mean,
They're
were
not
talking about that last cast. Yeah, I'm not MGTOW myself. I mean,
yeah, neither
a
am
lot
I.
of MGTOW speakers, and
Yeah.
you know, I love a lot of their information, but you know, I'm personally not MGTOW.
The important
But
thing is to be red pill.
Yeah, I don't throw them under the bus like other people do. That's for sure. I mean,
same.
Exceptionally valid point, and
Now,
they seem to be the most analytical group out there out of all of them.
I don't mean to cut you off, Abu. Let me just say, Senator, are you aware of Fukushima? Because
yeah, I know about Fukushima.
It's not really a future there, unless I'm wrong. Maybe you know something I don't know.
You mean the plant and the radioactive?
Yeah, and how it's pretty much they're done.
Well,
they're already the other Asian countries are already bracing for the Japanese to move there. They're gonna have to abandon the island at some point.
Jeez. All right. Well, I don't. The thing with that is, the way I see it is the Japanese, like, they're very clever, have a lot of technology advanced. I'm sure they'll find a way around it. But if it's really comes to that point where they have to move, well, that sucks. But I have an idea of where some of them are going to move. I know one island particularly.
Australia.
Huh?
Are you thinking of Australia?
Australia is one. Probably Australia is one. Brazil, surprisingly. Because if you don't know, there was like I can't remember what the story is, but there was a huge influx of Japanese, I think it was migrants or whatever, that actually came over to Brazil to live there. I think the population there is about 1 million or so, and they've basically integrated into Brazilian culture kind of well. So that's one place that we'll look into. I know that for sure.
I'm looking at Celeste in the chat room. He says he lived in Japan. It's a hell. They work too much. They're too cold. Women are the most gold digging he's ever seen.
Oh, wow. Fair enough.
Maybe that's why the herbivore men.
Yeah. The reason why I like the herbivore men is because they just don't like the way the thing is like they just looking at the cost benefit analysis in regards of, is this like so-called traditional lifestyle where I have to work amount of hours not seeing my kids and things like that, is it really worth it? And they look at the pros and cons, and really that's really what I just generally see that kind of started off like this herbivore movement, because they just probably want more out of life, and they say the traditional lifestyle is not for them. And yes, Red Pill Saver, I do live streams with Solo TV84. Yeah, I have.
Now look at Howard Clarence in the chat. He says he's Japanese, and it's so true. Not to say that you can't find one, you know.
Yeah.
You can always get lucky.
Yeah, you know, my biggest thing right now is when, like I said, and I don't really like this guy. I actually can't stand him. I hate his death with a passion. But Black Pigeon speaks.
Who?
And, Black Pigeon.
I've heard of him. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really like him. But hey, you know, I listen to him here and there, and he does have some good points, especially when he talks about his very first video that ever came out, how women destroy society. And any society or culture that like embraces feminism or gynocentrism of any sort, that is not a solidly patriarchal society, which is, granted, very difficult to find in the world nowadays. Actually, I don't think there is a single one, even if you look at the Arabs. But, you know, the vast when we look at the vast, like if we put it in a percentage, the greatest or the lion's share percentage of the societies in Africa and the Middle East are patriarchal. And when we look at historically, when we look at humans and human development and advancement, it's all patriarchal. And I don't want to live in a society. Of course, I like all the creature comforts to live in Germany. It's very, advanced society and culture, technologically and medically. But how do they get there? They have brain drained a lot of the third world to get where they are. And now this really needs to happen in reverse. This is how things happen, in reverse. Where are we going to go to? We have to create the environment we want nowadays. I did a video recently about that. There comes a point when you have to be the leader. I compared it to being Thor Oakenshield, and you have to be the individual that people look to and say, that's the one I can follow. I can call that man king. And so, when I look at Western society, it's done, man. It's like you said, we're facing racism. We're facing the gender skewed. It's skewed so in favor of women nowadays. It's not even funny. You can't even. How do you make humor out of it? So I wouldn't want to go. I mean, personally, and I'm not criticizing your choices here, but I'm just saying to go from one gynocentric society to one that's like far more advanced than the one we're in now. I mean, I don't know. Where's the solution? Because in terms of solutions, they're further down the trail than we are. You know what I mean?
You mean Japan?
Yeah, Japan. Yeah.
Yeah. The thing is like the way I see it, right, is like I'm looking at my perspective. You know what I'm saying? Like in regarding the West, I just think you're right in regards of like the West is done. Yeah, the West is done. All right. The reproductive rates is not at the rate of replacement now.
Oh, by far.
So that's in regards to that, and the immigration, basically the immigration to basically bring in immigrants to basically to help that, because what's happening in the UK, there's a lot of, let's say there's 3 or 4 profile terror attacks that's happened here now, and it's starting to show. And the reality is like if you look at majority of Europe, like you just said about feminism and things like that, once feminism's embraced, it causes let's say damage to societies. You just got to look at Europe. Look who is let's say ruling majority of Europe. All right, majority of it is women now. You got Theresa May, you've got Nicole, I forgot, no, basically her name is called Nicole Sturgeon from Scotland. You got Angela Merkel.
Doesn't Croatia have a female president?
I think so too. And also I think Sweden's trying their best to do. I don't know if Sweden already has. And also there was a time in Korea, I think it was South Korea, but because of corruption, she got kicked out. I think she was impeached or something. And then there was Brazil as well that had a female president, and because of something to do with corruption or whatever, she got the boot too. So what's tending to happen is the more and more women get into these leadership roles, the more and more fucked up the society is. That's just the reality. Because like in the UK, like some of the laws is really getting, like some of the laws here are really kind of getting really stupid now.
Hey, I don't want to cut you off. I'm gonna let you continue, Senator. I want to welcome Xanatos Clutch. What's going on, brother?
Hey, nothing much. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
I can hear you.
Glad to have you on.
What's up?
Yeah.
Want to introduce yourself real quick? Tell us just a brief little bit about your channel.
Sure. So my channel consists of a lot of stuff. It's a hodgepodge of issues that particularly Black men who are on point deal with, coming from a perspective of a Black man who would consider himself to be on point. But a lot of my channel deals with mostly just critics. Some people, including O'Shea Duke Jackson, as dubbed me as the great critic, so I take that with honor. So call out all sorts of yes, that happens just in society in general, whether it's from the SJW lefts, the pro-blacks, or your alt-rights and other individuals of that nature. So, and the reason why I was brought here specifically, because I think you and I were discussing about how some of the videos I've made concentrates more on how Black men can prepare to leave the country, go international. And
Yes,
Quite
sir.
frankly, those videos have been pretty successful, at the very least, when it comes to my channel and my subs. So, yeah, I'm willing to put in any input on how black men or what black men should do in detail before we leave this country. I think a lot of black men considers getting a passport and then just jumping ship as the final solution. And quite frankly, well, not the final, but the first solution. But quite frankly, there are a lot more things that black men we need to do in America before we, as a group, even consider bailing ship in the United States.
I would agree, but let me say, you said as a group. This is my thing. I hear a lot of black men that are afraid to travel, and they're always talking about it's not practical for everybody. And these same black men who say that, they're talking about building businesses and rebuilding Black Wall Street in America as if that's practical, right? I, I
I would
feel.
say it's,
Oh, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
well, honestly, these black guys who talk about not being able to travel in the mass because it's not practical. These are the same black men who claim they want to build black businesses here, but a lot of these blacks don't build. They don't do anything either way. Um, as I stated in one of my other videos, either build your own infrastructures or assimilate and integrate to the society and build your better reputation. These are the same kind of guys who will refuse to assimilate to the American norms and cultures. And these would be the same guys who refuse to build for their own, either here or in other black countries. So I don't really take what those kind of guys say with high regard.
No, I don't either.
I agree with what you're saying there. Because that's another thing is like I have people like that in the UK who, you know, talk a lot, but don't actually take action. So,
And quite frankly, and being in the UK, quite frankly, I know black men have their issues there, but
yeah.
I don't get why are black men in the UK specifically complaining as if they, not to dismiss any sort of racial incidents that happened with black men in Britain, but compared to that in America, let's be honest, blacks are more or less in the middle of the totem pole, versus in America, blacks, we're basically at the bottom.
Yeah.
You know,
I agree with that.
I lived in London for 16 months. I mean, I'm relatively new here to Germany again. And so I just got here, and man, it's good there. You know, it's chill. I didn't have. This is my second time being in the UK. It was my second time, and I had both times, no real negative experiences as a black man. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Because of my ethnicity, I'd never had a real
same
experience. You know, you dealt with some like small minor issues, but because of the development of society in the UK, maybe because of like its history with like royalty and whatnot, the UK is a classist society as opposed to a racist one in America, where one race was put above another by way of slavery. So people there, whites included, there's a clear line where people understand you're under the bus, period. You know, whether you're Asian, whether you're black, or whether you're white. It boils down to economics predominantly, at least in London. I don't know about the outer lying areas, the rural United Kingdom, but London is definitely classist.
I agree.
You have money, you transcend, race in general.
Let me just Red Pill Lifesaver in the chat room. He's asking about Costa Rica or Thailand. I just want to say real quick, I've never been to Thailand, but I don't really endorse going to Central America for long term.
I mean, Costa Rica is all right though. I lived down there for 3 months. It depends on what part you go to, because like the main part of it is like mostly people that are descendants of Spanish people on the East Coast. There's a bunch of Jamaican people that live there actually.
That's a good point. It depends on where you're at in these countries.
Yeah, because you can kind of start businesses there pretty easy too, because it's like they kind of imported them over there to and stuff, and it's kind of funny because when I was there, they like the Jamaican people refused to learn Spanish, and they were trying to figure out how to get them to integrate, and they just refused. Like they still consider themselves Jamaicans even though they live in Costa Rica. Like they're like, no, I'm Jamaican, I'm not even a Costa Rican and stuff. So there's some business opportunities there, but it depends if you like that type of Rastafarian Jamaican culture and stuff.
I see. So, Germany. Tell us more about Germany, man. Like if brothers are wanting to relocate over there, I mean, is there any job opportunities or contracting type of opportunities for trades?
Germany is in boom times right now. I mean, even as an unskilled laborer, you can walk into like pretty well paying jobs right now. Everyone, let me say this in a slightly different way. Let me start differently. Everyone should disabuse themselves of the concept of the idea that Germany has allowed in so many refugees for humanitarian purposes. They're doing it because Germans don't have kids and there's a massive labor shortage. Since I've been here, I've changed jobs. I can't remember how many times. You offer me more money, I'm gonna leave. I'm just gonna bounce, you know. And when every company I go to, there's a manpower shortage. So you come here, you can throw a rock and hit a job, and one's gonna pay more than the other. It's really boom times over here. And if you have a technical skill or a trade, even a trade, man, you're gonna kill it. But
Of
even
course.
unskilled labor here, if you get the right company, I was with Audience at one point. Audience does interiors for in the U.S. it's called Johnson Controls, but over here it's called Audience, and they do the interiors for Smart, which is a subsidiary of Mercedes-Benz, and for Ford. And those guys were making you could be a German high school dropout and walk into approximately 2,200 euros after taxes, which is amazing money over here. I wouldn't
Wow.
say amazing, but that's definitely good money for like someone who's just a regular schmo who might at best write his name without spelling it wrong. So I mean, you come over with a skill or something, man, you're gonna kill it, dude.
I think Germany's good. I've visited twice. The only thing is I'm not naive to believe that they won't at some point start hating on black people. I think it's just because it's not enough of us there that they don't hate on us. So we're not a threat yet.
Well, right now the targeted are the refugees, especially Middle Eastern ones. You know, Muslims are getting a bad reputation because of the attacks in the UK and a few attacks here in Germany, and those ones happened in France. So people have a general widespread fear of Muslims and Middle Eastern people in general. So you're kind of flying under the radar temporarily. Yes, it might be a long temporary since there's so many refugees now, but yeah, there are problems for sure. But they're based off of legitimate fears. And I'm a Muslim, I'm speaking as a Muslim here, but they are legitimate fears. There's open borders across Europe, and so people are just coming and going unchecked, unidentified, and in between them you've got like some socio slash psychopaths that just pull stupid stuff and they ruin it for everybody.
Yeah.
Yep.
But Germany, it's nice, man, and especially being an African American male, or just even an African male. I mean, you're the flavor of the week out here, man. You're the flavor of the month.
Somebody
Yeah, but that's what women everywhere though. It's like whenever you're kind of different culture, the women love that. I think it's not so much just being black, but actually, I was gonna ask you, what's your proficiency level in German, and does that have any bearing on being able to find work there and stuff?
I'm fluent, but it doesn't make any bearing on finding work, especially in the unskilled. Right now, I'm working just like in what I used to do with military, industrial scale logistics. Having basic reading and writing, basic reading actually, and some very basic writing would probably be helpful. But there's people there, they're fresh off the boat, man, and they're German, it's hand and feet communication. So,
oh damn,
you're of course going to be limited, in the career progression.
Got a question in the chat room. Abdullah, he asking if would it be easy for an American to find unskilled labor?
Yes, absolutely. Very easy. Like I said, go outside, throw a rock, you're going to hit a job that pays half decent, in unskilled. Predominantly industrial work, manufacturing, and logistics. These are the big things. Because it's a manufacturing country. They produce a lot of like engineering and automotive engineering, technology stuff. So you can find a job out here pretty easily. You're not trying to be overly picky.
Now,
but if you're picky and you have a skill, you're going to kill it. Well,
the dark one, he says he personally wouldn't recommend any black person to move to any predominantly white countries, and I agree. But I think we
That's the
got to
West
do.
Coast.
I think we got to do what we got to do
Yeah.
for starters. Like
I think
I feel, and y'all can tell me if you disagree, but I think a different white patriarchy is a little bit better of an option than the American white patriarchy for starters. I'm
I
not
agree.
saying as an end result, as an end goal, you know.
Dark one.
I just think
I
money
just like this.
talks. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, Square.
No, so like no matter where you move, you got to have at least some starter capital. You can't just kind of on a plane and hope for the best.
And that's
Yeah.
why I say East Africa, because your money will go the furthest. From what I've seen, it'll go the furthest in Africa or the
One thing,
Caribbean. Go
one
ahead.
thing I advocate strongly is in this day and age, you don't even see massive corporations and companies going it alone. You really need a very tight circle. It doesn't have to be a large one of individuals that you can lean on. I've got dudes where I know if I fly to this particular country, I have a place to stay for a temporary basis until I get set up on my own. So I mean, if you're going to look at like traveling to another country, I don't. I personally I find it difficult to go with the concept that if you're going to make a permanent move, you're going to make a permanent move there without any sort of on the ground boots. You know, you ain't got troops on the ground. You should have somebody in your tight circle that is already set up there. That's my humble opinion.
I think that's very clever.
Even if you have start capital, just building off what Square was saying, even if you have start capital, you know, when you get on the ground somewhere, because I've traveled a lot, finding those little cheap hotels or cheap pensions or cheap apartments, that's not something you can do once you land. People automatically get that vulture, circling around you when they see you're new and you got money. And so the rent all of a sudden becomes high when it's lower for people who speak native language or they are a native. So you need people on the ground who know how to navigate the local economy better than you do.
Yeah,
Yep,
I
they
would
got
agree
me.
with that.
They got me in Africa. They were charging me high price rent for my business.
Yeah, I did myself through a Kenyan, so
Yep. I wanted to ask Xanatos Clutch. If is that how you say it? Xanatos?
Stanislaus, right?
Yeah. You made a video talking about something I thought was real profound about how a lot of the foreigners that or the immigrants that come into the United States are the lowest of the low and the better like let's just say for instance a Mexican, the ones that are a little bit more humble, they don't come to the US, they might go somewhere else. Remember that?
Yeah. So, well, when it comes to a lot of, I would say, African immigrants, a lot of Asian immigrants, Middle Eastern immigrants, to a lesser extent Latinos, because the United States is just the easiest place where they can land. It's just literally crossing the border in some cases. A lot of immigrants I find tend to move to the United States because they want that specific American dream of one being money hungry, not just building a better life for oneself and one's family. And two, a lot of them I tend to find are, quite frankly, either harbor a lot more racist views about blacks or end up building a lot of racist views towards blacks, which this explains how a lot of your Arab, Asian, those bodegas or those 7-Eleven knockoff stores tend to have people who give you shitty service and so forth. And this just explains how a lot of foreigners and first generation Americans whose parents are from those specific countries tend to not only hate black men, but tend to hate men of their own races. This is especially true within your Indian and Asian communities, where a lot of them will just outright marry white guys. And in many cases, it doesn't have to be a top notch white guy. It can be this nerdy, aspy, alt-right white guy who basically your Elliot Rodger kind. So
Yep.
I tend to find that a lot more of the Asians, Middle Easterners, Africans who really want a better life for themselves and are real down to earth cool people. They tend to go to other first world countries like Canada, Australia, plenty parts of Europe, and so forth.
Yeah, I thought that was I can't remember the name of that video you did, but if you want to post that in the chat, I think people need to see that video.
Sure.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
mean,
think
you
it
can't
was a
really.
video
I'm sorry.
where I don't think it was one video. I think that was just one part a profound part in one of the videos that I posted. That I'll look for it.
Cool. Were you about to say Square? Or
I was gonna say you can't really blame them though when you look at the media and stuff, and a lot of stuff that the black community is exporting is just like gangster rap, and then they come here and they open stores, and people are going and buying liquor and cigarettes and lottery tickets from them. Them to think of us really.
Yeah, which is why I also state that black men and improving our image is one of the things that black men need to do before considering moving outside of the United States. I mean, if we're going to have this image, this export of just fuckery and niggerdom being the standard image of blacks, then moving wherever is not going to help things. We're going to be seen as that race. We're going to be seen like how a lot of the Arabs are seen in Europe.
well, let me
Yeah.
So
let me. Oh, go ahead. You about to say something, Senator?
Yeah, like he was saying about proving their image. Yeah, that's very important because in the UK, even though black people here will have their let's say their hiccups, right? But we don't have it as like we don't have that, let's say, that negative stereotype as much as here in the UK, because what I tend to notice even in like the music industry and that, like there'll be a few blacks out there, like when I'm talking about like black people in the music industry, yeah, they'll have that similar kind of culture where there's rap music and things like that, but it's not so like prominent here. Like we have something here in the UK, like I don't know if you have that in America, called the grime scene. All right, that's very, very, let's say, popular in the UK. That would be what you would pretty much compare to, like, say, the hip hop scene, but they do it in a very different way.
I love me some grime though, man.
I was gonna
No,
say. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
on a macro level, though, I agree and disagree. I was talking about this. I can't remember when or where. I can't remember if it was a video or if it was an interpersonal conversation with someone. That the average person who's going to look at like making a migration, becoming an expat, an African American expat, it's not going to be your standard, grimy type of hood rat individual.
That's what I was gonna get into.
Yeah,
Yeah. So really, when you go and you bring value and you create value in another location, people are going to view you on an individual macro level differently. It's going to be passively understood that okay, the vast majority of your people are just, ugh. But in between, you know, there's
Yeah,
there's some chocolate between all those turds.
yeah, I agree and disagree too. The reason I disagree is I don't think it's gonna be a large migration. I mean, just like the immigrants who come into Canada or come into the U.S. or into Europe, it's only a few. They leave everybody else at home.
Hey, and you know what? Kicking off on people I listen to but don't like, Stephen Molyneux, he talked about this. And Stephen Molyneux, I don't like him because he's something of a eugenist, and like, you really listen to him closely. And his eugenics ideas don't favor black people or people of colors that aren't white. But nonetheless, here nor there. Let me not get into that. When we look at brain drain and how it happens, let me word it. Okay, so basically, the brainiest people who have the intelligence and the skills and the ability or the finances to create finances are the people that are coming to the West, and they are improving and building the West. So, what's to prevent us from making this cycle happen in reverse? If you look at it, when we look at the demographics of black people who want to leave the West, they are a higher intelligence and demographic of black people that are better behaved and have, what do you say, more foresight or insight, intelligence, it would appear to be. I mean, we can't determine that exactly, but on the outwardly, what we see, the more intelligent and more aspiring black people are the ones that want to migrate outside the country because we see things that they don't see. Those people are in a particular world and realm and mentality that is a very base level: sex, getting high, booze, banging chicks, and whatever else. And they're not thinking about wealth, generational wealth, and building for the future.
even the ones, not to cut you, but even the ones who are thinking about future and they claim they're thinking about wealth and all the business and stuff, it's really just fear. They're just
Fear.
afraid of something new.
Oh yes,
They're
you
afraid
want
of
to.
leaving where they're comfortable at. That's
Yeah,
all.
absolutely. Oh, absolutely. I mean, but that's, I think that's reasonable. That's understandable. Going into the unknown. I mean, I think that's a pretty standard uh, function of the amygdala. I would think there'd be something wrong with you and your amygdala if you didn't if you didn't have some basic fear. Now, whether that fear paralyzes you to inaction or action, that's something different. Nonetheless, the point is, eventually something like this needs to happen. I mean, this is why we find the third world is in the position that it's in. Because over time, and I agree with Stephen Molyneux on this, the vast majority of the people with higher IQs have left this country, leaving those with lower IQs behind. How is a country supposed to advance like that? So when we look at ourselves as a community of people, if we just say African Americans in specific, um, maybe, like I said, with having boots on the ground and networking, we need to start looking at building communities in Africa, not being exclusive where you come and you act like the what do they call the Boers in South Africa, and you make your own communities and no blacks allowed in or whatever else, where we're like, oh, none of you native Africans here. None of that stuff. But at the same time, where we create micro economies that we control as a people, which brings up the level of the environment that you're moving to. You see what I mean? Because like Senator was saying, he has a specific medical condition that he finds is best treated here in the West. But if you were to actually consider moving there, Senator, wouldn't you look to maybe create an environment where you could be treated there? You see what I
Well,
mean?
it could be.
Yeah.
That's very difficult.
Well, no, absolutely. But I'm just saying, with time, you like open a clinic, and then you hire a qualified doctor. Do you see what I mean? At the same time, you do something for profit, but benefits has an overall benefit. This is the
Yeah.
level of thinking that seems impossible, but it needs to happen.
Oh, it needs to
I
happen,
don't know.
but the reason why it needs to happen is because autism and Asperger's syndrome is growing a lot within men. Even though females have it too, it's predominantly a male thing. Definitely because it's happening all over the world. The reason why they don't know, some have theories saying that Asperger's syndrome or autism could be a evolution thing. I don't know about that, but it's definitely something that is going to be basically addressed in the future, definitely for sure.
I don't want to hijack this. You guys from the last one, you guys know I can go on for rants for a minute, but let me just say, I guess basically what I'm saying is we're coming back to the patriarchal model. Patriarchal model. We as men are the builders. So
Yeah,
if we go into the unknown, we have to understand and come with the concept that we're building it for future generations.
yeah, of
We
course.
can't be like, and I don't mean this in an offensive way, but we
Yeah,
can't
I
be
know.
like women where we're expecting to come into a ready-made situation, because this is the vast
Yeah, I get where you're
majority.
coming from.
Yeah, women have that mentality where they want to come into a ready-made situation, and this is where we as men we exercise our wherewithal and our strength and our fortitude and whatnot in building culture, society, institutions of wealth and whatnot. But how do we do it? This is, I think,
Yeah,
what this is all about, right?
yeah, I get where you're coming from. For example, the very thing you were saying about the ready-made thing is actually I'm doing something that is actually not ready-made. Like, for example, I actually started up an Asperger's Youth Club, one of the first Asperger's Youth Clubs in London. All right. I'm actually creating a network so I could bring autistic people together and basically give solutions in terms of how they could treat their autistic child, or basically what resources in London. Because a lot of parents come to me, they even the professionals don't even know what to do in regards to the situation, because not a lot of people have the knowledge that I have. And in regards to that, there's only a few select who know, okay, what is the best solution, or what needs to be done in the long term. Because as you know, with Asperger's syndrome, there's no cure to it. So it's a long life thing, and I'm basically come up with the solutions and the alternatives to do that. So yeah, like you were saying, you know, we got to start in places that is of the unknown. That's how men started in basically building society. So yeah, I definitely back what you say in regards to that.
Let me chime in real quick. The dark one in the chat room, he's saying the best place to invest is Africa. Bottom line, no other place is better. Just buy the book, 101 Ways to Make Money in Africa. Everybody needs to get that book.
Okay,
I agree totally.
Right now.
Totally. I want to welcome King Riches to the line too. What's going on, King Riches?
Hey, how you doing, man? Can you hear me well?
Yeah, we hear you. You're in the UK too, right?
Yeah. Only been back like 2 weeks, man.
All right, glad to have you on. Do we need to come there? Is that where we need to be going?
I don't know, man. I don't know. Cause like, you know where it is, yeah? Like, I was in the States for so long, like for a continued amount of time, that I got climatized to it. You know what I'm saying? Even though like I was documenting a lot of the fuckery that I was noticing with women there, and you know, a lot of the niggerish mentality that a lot of like people have, you know, on the whole, like America is a land of opportunity if you look at it from a business standpoint. Like there's a lot you can do over there. Whereas in England, you're kind of limited to the opportunities available, especially as a black person, in my opinion. You know, some people may disagree with me, but like, especially now that I live in an area outside of London, which is, you know, I feel like I'm like the last person alive, you know, because I'm black or whatnot.
Yeah.
It makes me feel kind of like it's not the place for me anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I don't know. My opinion might change in it.
I see. Maybe you just need a few months. Get back
Yeah, but
into it.
that's the thing. I don't want to though. That's the fucked up thing. That's the fucked up thing.
What about the women, man? Let's talk about the women a little bit, guys. Like in these different places. I'll let you start off, King Riches. What's the UK? And then I want to go to Abu after you.
Well, like obviously before I hold on, it's noisy where I'm at. But before I went to the States, I was in London, innit? Like, and like that's like the main urban city in the UK, in England, like, and you know, it's a very multicultural, diverse environment. And you know, I never really had no problem getting girls. Like, I didn't have no problem getting girls, but I only used to date predominantly black girls. I only probably messed around with literally a couple white girls, one Indian girl, and that was about it. But the rest was all black girls and that. Now, you know, a lot of the black girls have a lot of the fucked up mentality, and you know, being materialistic, and you know, wanting guys that are 6'5" and all of that bullshit. But I always was able to get my own fair share, if you know what I mean.
Right. At the end of
But
the
like,
day, I don't mean to cut you off, but at the end of the day, aren't the rules there, or the laws, I should say, aren't they pretty much the same? Just as bad as the gynocentric laws here?
yeah, like
So
women can
really, it's
fuck
not
you
about
up.
the women. So really, it's not about the women. It's about the laws. That's what it ends up being.
Yeah, I feel like it, you know, at the end of the day, it's men put women in the position to fuck men over. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that's how I see it. Do you know what
Most
I mean?
definitely.
So women are just taking advantage because that's what they're meant to do. You know what I'm saying? It's in their nature to always take as many advantages as possible, because in reality they are weaker, so they need to take advantage. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yes,
so that's what it is. It's men, it's simps. You know, it's a system that is installed by men, which put men at a disadvantage.
I couldn't agree more. So like really, we need to be going places where the laws are not quite as feminist just yet, because they're all going to be feminist eventually.
Yeah, because I was thinking about that as well. Because you know, I listen to a lot of YouTubers that talk about going to Southern American countries, and you know, one of the funny things that I've noticed was that when I looked at, like, you know, dating apps and stuff like that, and like, and Instagram as well, a lot of the times I would get a lot of love from South American women from, like, you know, those kind of countries. And it was a thing of like, they was more interested in me, not to say I wasn't interested in them, but they was more um interested in me than probably like, you know, the women that I was usually around. Do you know what I mean? They were showing me more feminine energy. So that was always like a thing of raw. Like maybe I need to, you know, follow these guys' example and go to those countries too. You know what I'm saying?
I got you. What about you, Abu? What's going on in Germany? Like the females. I know I told you when I was there, it seemed like a lot of segregation. Like men and women didn't hang out a whole lot, from what I saw in Frankfurt.
Yeah, yeah, you know, and this goes back to what I said, you know, like, I don't know what it is, man. Maybe it's something in the water. The guys out here are kind of soft, man. They're really afraid of women over here. This is the impression I get, and this is part of like the mentality I guess behind like women really liking black guys out here because the reality is, I don't know what it is. It's true. We tend to be more aggressive and secure when we want them. You know, I mean, that's the reality on the ground. There's a lot of negative stereotypes that people try and throw at us with that, but at the end of the day, who's throwing those negative stereotypes at us? It's the men, not the women. The women like to be pursued. You understand this. Anybody who doesn't know this has not been paying attention to female nature. Well, out here, in terms of like scoring a relationship, I guess you could say it's quite easy. But at the end of the day, you are in the West. You are in, again, like we said, the white patriarchy, and the rules in relationships in general favor women. His default is to protect their own women. So if you are looking at it from an aspect of like how safe are you in a relationship, you're in the West, you know, you're under the bus, and that has nothing to do with ethnicity. Ethnicity that has everything to do with gender. So I mean, I guess ethnicity will help. I guess it will throw you further under a bus, if you're an Arab in a relationship with a German girl and she says rape one day and she's mad at you, yeah, not only are you gonna get thrown under the bus legally, you're gonna get thrown under the bus with the media also, you know. So you know, in that regard, it's pretty simple out here to meet, you know, to meet a woman if that's your, you know, if that's your goal, your intention. But as to establishing a relationship over the long term, it's probably best not to try and do it in Germany or in the West. I'm just gonna throw the whole West under a bus today, avoid the West in general, you know, because the reality is the laws do favor them in a disproportionately unfair manner and method. You know, you're going to find the child um, visitation laws and, you know, the family courts or the equivalent over here. You're not going to find it to be significantly different than in the UK or France or the United States. Now, in terms of like the third world, oh man, it's amazing, bro. I mean, because you know most of the women there, they come from patriarchal society. They grew up with a firm, you know, solid patriarch in their household. So I find that when I deal with like Indonesians and Malaysians, when I deal with Africans in general, this, this whole sense of like you're gonna have a competition or they're gonna like, you know, turn on you and go to the law as opposed to their family. Man, you don't have that feeling, you don't have that experience, and it's true. What's his name? I'm sorry, King was saying about the laws. You know, when I was in Kenya, I was actually married to a Kenyan, and I took her to Qatar. And what she did was, the moment she got there, she kind of switched up the program on me, and she started taking advantage of the laws of the country. But you know, the beauty of being in Qatar is, you know, I'm a Muslim and it's a Muslim country, so there the laws favor disproportionately the men because it is a solid patriarchy. So at the end of
Yep.
the day, it backfired and blew up in the face.
I was married to an East African one once upon a time too. A lot of people don't know that. We'll talk about that
Oh,
one day. But I want to go to Xanatos Clutch. You want to tell us about some of the places you've been and the women?
So, as far as places I've been personally, I will be quite frank and say that most of my exploits have been in North America. So that includes Canada and Mexico. Canada, a lot of that has to do with just me hitting up certain cities, particularly for work or for pleasure. And the reception I get there, quite frankly, summarizes this as Canada being the United States of America without the racial aspect to it, particularly when it comes to black men. Now, the kind of women I get here, even where I am right now, isn't too bad, but it's only because the state I live in doesn't have a lot of blacks as is, and a lot of the crime that happens here are mostly done by Hispanics followed by Pacific Islanders, so they for the most part get the attention of the masses. And when it comes to not looking on where not to move, that sort of thing. The blacks who live in my state usually are here for college or to play in the pros, even though we only have one professional team here, or work, military work, some transfers from somewhere else. But as far as Canada goes, you can't go wrong with almost any major city. I've been to Vancouver, been to Montreal, and I haven't been to Toronto, but I have been to Calgary and Edmonton. And as far as those four cities go, yeah, I can't complain one bit. Mexico, that's an interesting place. It's definitely, especially in northern Mexico, we have your Tijuanas and some of the other Ciudad Juarez. A lot of those cities are third world, and a lot of them tend to have their own issues. But once they know that you're an American, particularly, they'll leave you alone at the very least.
Hey, before you go too far into Mexico, I heard Calgary and Edmonton was awesome for us. Is that true? Do you know?
I would say so. Yeah, I'd say there are very few blacks who live in those parts of Canada, even for a Canadian population. I'd say it's like, I don't know, probably less than 5%, I would surmise. Although, I actually had a great uncle who actually played for the CFL, and he, because of reasons like this, and he actually just ended up spending the rest of his life up in Edmonton. So yeah, there's a lot of that. And yeah, so I can't complain about Alberta in general, although Alberta is the most conservative of the Canadian provinces. But the conservatism that they have is way different from the conservatism that you see in the United States, whereas a lot of conservatives are just conservative out of race politics.
Gotcha. But continue about Mexico if you would, man, because I'm real interested in Mexico. I think there's a lot of hidden gems there.
So Mexico, and I'd say this for most South America, due to the experience I've had with dating Latinas, that comes with learning the language. If you can learn the language, you'll be much better off. Now, you can go down there as a tourist, knowing jack crap about Spanish, but your options will be limited to either women who would just want you for some sort of money, and I'm not even talking about just the prostitutes and the escorts. I'm just talking about women who just want you to break them off something or some bullshit, and yeah, they'll give you some sort of attention, or you'll deal with the tourist. Now, you have tourist spots like Cancun, parts of Tijuana, where, and it's actually an advantage, especially go to a place like Cancun on spring break, because quite frankly, and this is where I get the impression that a lot of American women, even white women who are from some of the most racist areas, a lot of them have to answer in order to get the benefits of being a white female American. They have to answer to a lot of the authority of the white male patriarch here, which first rule is don't mess with black men. No matter how successful, how articulate and smart they are, don't fuck with black men. Them going outside the United States sort of gives them relief from answering to that patriarchy and that unwritten rule. So if you're, so, there's one time when I was in Tijuana, I don't want to brag, but let me see, I got 4 notches within 24 hours.
Man, that's big time.
And these were like your typical American chicks who were on college break. I mean, I was in college break with a couple of friends as well. Well, actually, this was after college. I was just going with some guys who were already in college. But yeah, so a lot of them have to answer to that sort of establishment, that sort of rule that states you can't mess with black men, or if you do, let us not figure out about it, and so forth. So there's that. And also you have some gyms in Mexico. If you really go down to places like Guadalajara, Mexico City, and so forth, if you learn the language, then from my accounts, from what I understand or what I understood, you will definitely have a good time.
Do you know anything about the I guess it's near Acapulco? I think there's a lot of black Mexicans down there that are very similar in appearance, very similar to African Americans and in the diaspora.
I've heard of that. I haven't been to Acapulco, but I've heard stories about how in southern Mexico area that there is a visible black Mexican population. Now,
Gotcha.
their experiences may vary because, yeah, you'll have stories of African to Black Mexicans or Black Colombians or Black Brazilians who may face discrimination. And you can say race has a key factor to do with that, but a lot of them are just downtrodden and poor, even worse than Americans. So if you're an African American, you can capitalize on the fact that you're an American, which is in some cases why I advocate speaking English first and then speaking Spanish. Then they'll know you're part of a different league, and then they'll treat you more like an American than anything else. The biggest advantage of traveling to almost any country in the world is that you're not seen as black. You're seen as American first.
That is true. I couldn't believe the amount of respect I got in Europe.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
I agree 100% with that. Also, you're American
Yeah.
first.
One,
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
one because you're an American. Two, a lot of white Europeans know the bullshit that blacks have been through and are still going through today. And I'm not talking about the thug lives matter shit. I'm talking about the welfare state, the rap industrial complex, real things that you contribute to white supremacy. Um, Not this shit that pro-blacks talk about thugs getting shot down the street. They realize the shit that goes on with blacks and how blacks have been resilient. So there is a modicum of respect for blacks going through that alone. And there have been historians who have written about how they went to Europe, especially places like the UK, France, Germany, Scandinavia, and basically either lived there. Yeah, they basically lived there for the rest of their lives. They never came back to the States. And also, the other thing that a lot of Europeans realize is that a lot of the Americans over there are European rejects.
I see. Interesting, man. King Riches, you want to tell us a little bit about the African women? I know you come from an African bloodline, if I'm right.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
You want to tell us a little bit of what you know about? Because I want to get back on Africa a little bit.
Well, like my background, like with my mom and whatnot, and my sisters and that, is like a traditional, old school kind of mindset. The man is in charge, the man is the head of the house, and like I was basically taught that, like, what I mean, I should find myself a good girl and whatnot, and like, have a bunch of babies and all of that shit, like, what I mean. But if you look at it now, especially like Nigeria and stuff like that, a lot of these African women, they've been like really negatively influenced by like American culture, like the urban culture. So now, like, if you watch Hollywood movies and stuff like that, you see all the women wearing ridiculous weaves and shit and lightening their skin and, just taking on that whole kind of I'm a boss bitch, I'm a bad bitch kind of mindset. So, the whole thought lifestyle is kind of like infected, infected African culture in a way. Like, what I mean? There are still a lot of the traditional women walking around, like particularly if you actually go to Africa. But like, for instance, if you're in the UK, you know, you're really playing a gamble when you mess with African women, because some of them are just everybody else. Like, what I mean? I would say probably most of them are just like everybody else. But if you actually in Africa, you've got a good chance of meeting like decent women. But I don't think they're all gonna be decent. That's a fairy tale, like, what I mean. Maybe it was like that once upon a time, but it's not like that no more. I'm saying,
Gotta stay out of the cities.
yeah,
Because the
man. Just
cities are
just
all the same. Cities are all just like living in New York, as far as state of
yeah,
mind.
yeah, man. The internet and TV fucked up everything, man. Especially the internet fucked up
Yep.
everything.
Yes, indeed.
Another thing I think it kind of screwed up the game is international travel, man. When Red Pill first started catching traction online and people started learning games, we found that like the average Buster Lamo started traveling, and they just started totally messing up the entire demographics of like not demographics, excuse me, but just the entire mentality in certain regions. Rushdie talked about it in Ukraine. He was like, it used to be a gold mine for like the average guy who was going trying to run games. Like until like the average, I guess you could say, beta blue pill, guy came out there and just splashing cash and like totally messing up the entire scene. So I think that makes a difference also. You got guys on the ground, they come out there and they do the dumbest stuff, and then women become accustomed to that dumb stuff. It totally messes up an entire environment also, where they can screw up the environment for local guys and guys coming from the outside. Because women get comfortable quickly, They learn something and that's it. They spread it amongst themselves and their friends, and then they all have these unrealistic expectations that can really mess up an environment for everybody.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Got anything, Senator? Want to tell us about? I know you haven't spoken in a minute.
In regards of what? Because like you're going around asking people like specific subject.
Yeah, just about the women, I guess, and where you at or where you've been.
Okay. I've been to Grenada, St. Lucia as a kid, so I can't really talk about the women there because obviously I was the kid then. And also Grenada. Okay. I would say like in Grenada, I do like tend to notice like the women there are very submissive, somewhat traditional as well. I've noticed that. It tends to be, I'm not saying all households because obviously I haven't been everywhere in Grenada. The people there tend to keep things traditional. The man is the house, is the guy of the household. And the strange thing about Grenada, right, is it's like, because I went there, was it 2 times or was it probably 2 or 3 times in my life now, and it's hardly really changed. The culture's still there. There hasn't been signs of westernization. Even though there's KFC there, that's the only really sign there. I don't know about McDonald's or things like that, but what tends to happen is the traditional lifestyle, if you want to have a woman there or whatever, is good. Also, what I notice is a lot of people from the UK are actually going there to build houses. All right. I remember a lot of people are building like literally mansions in Grenada, by the sea. I've actually been in a few of their houses, and it's great there. The women's great there. Trinidad, I can't really talk much good about that.
Yeah, because they all try to be like the ghetto American.
Yeah, it's like that. But in Grenada is very good in regards to that. I always seen a lot of positive things in regards to the women there, the people there. Even if you're like a stranger, people will come to you and basically talk to you and say hi. Where if you actually did that, say in London, people will be looking at you like, what the fuck? But when you're in Grenada, people be just people, complete strangers, they'll say hi, how's it going? Hi, how are you? Good morning. I remember a time where there was someone who actually invited me to their house for dinner. Things like this. It's a really great, community there. There was a time where I was actually playing football with some of the locals. It's really, really nice country there. The women, I would say in the UK, it's come to a point where it kind of sucks. All right. Believe it or not, I would say I'm pretty much the opposite of King Rich's, right? In regards of, how he talks about he's only dealt with black women. Well, I can't seem to attract black women, but I could attract almost any other race outside, of my own race, which is what I actually made a video about that recently. So that's regards to that. And you can find some good gems in the UK. You have to be, good. You have to be, let's say, vigilant. And another thing in the UK as well is if you know your areas, because it's literally like an international airport of women in the UK, right? If you know your areas in London or even in certain places, you could get a certain demographic of women based off the area you go. All right. For example, I know where I could get Korean women. I know where I could get Filipino or Asian women. It's different areas in London you go to. For example, if you go to somewhere called Brixton That's where it's a predominantly black area. All right, so that's what I would say there. But the laws there is really messed up. That's why if you were living in the UK or you're out to get a woman overseas, you're best off staying in the country instead of bringing them over. That's the mistake that a lot of guys do. Also, you know, MGTOW, you know, like the MGTOW community, even though I'm not a MGTOW, is actually quite huge here. But they have that mindset. Some are actually MGTOW, but they don't actually, let's say, give the so-called name of it. But with me as well is I don't mind being traditional, but it's come to a point where when you look at the cost benefit analysis and also the laws in the UK, it's basically not worth it. So that's what I would.
Same as the US.
Yeah, that's what I would definitely say. And being in the UK, I would say that, like, especially as a black guy, you can do very well. Is if you create like your own businesses, your own platform, various things like that, and you can be very successful here. So definitely. But what King Richards was saying about limit opportunities, I somewhat agree, but it's really based off who you know. That's what I'll definitely say about that. But yeah, that's what I really got to say in regards to that.
Sounds good. I want to welcome Forrest Black Man to the channel, man. One of my favorite YouTubers. What's up, brother?
What's up, bro? How you doing, man?
Doing all right. How are you today?
Man, I'm just, I'm happy to be alive, healthy,
Yes, sir.
Happy to be on a call with such great minds and international travelers, man. I had a little bit of international experience, but it's good to hear from brothers that had way more than me. So I'm learning.
I hear you, but you can still teach too, man. You've probably been some places I ain't been.
Man, it's kind of like in America, man. It's like if you equate it to, like, let's say, I know cats will say, like, for example, in the UK, or, you got problems. I know westernization of the females is in the UK too, man. I haven't been there personally, but I do want to go there. But it's kind of like America's like the 10th layer of hell, you know what I mean? So far as interaction between males and females.
For sure.
And so the UK would be like, let's say the sixth layer, So even though it might be rough, it's still better than here,
I see.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. But anyways, man, I don't want to take up too much time, man. I just, got off work, man. So I'm glad you guys are still on,
You've been to some of those, if I'm not mistaken, Central American or Caribbean places, right?
I have been to the Bahamas. That was years ago. And South America, I went to Panama and Colombia. And it was pretty cool.
Give us a little bit of hope about Panama, because I think a lot of guys don't know a whole lot about Panama.
Oh, with Panama, I just stayed like one day. So not a really expert there, but it's more black people there. I'm going to be honest with you. Me personally, what was so fun or better for me being overseas is that not really being around a lot of, not trying to be racist, but not being around a system of white supremacy in your face as much as it is here. Panama was cool because you was around more black folks and more mixed looking people. The same with Colombia. And it just, personally, I felt less targeted.
Yeah, I'm sure it
was like a
affected
better
your self-esteem.
feeling, you know what I'm saying?
Yep. Like I was saying,
man.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead, brother.
No, I'm just, like I was saying earlier, moving to another white patriarchy, I think is a start if that's what we have to do. But I think the end goal is to get into a black country.
Yeah, man. That's why I'm hearing a lot of brothers going to Brazil, man. I talk to cats that live there, man. It's like, I mean, that's really one of the places I want to go personally, man. Just not to be so specifically targeted, man. Like, the police is very, you got cats getting killed out here, man, and nothing happening, no justice. It's real. It's real out here,
It's real.
It felt great to be. It felt great to be not targeted. I'm just being honest with you, man. You know.
Yep. The thing about Brazil though, that the negative side, and it seems that a lot of brothers that go there,
Mhm.
all they doing is tricking.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah,
Like the
definitely.
same thing they could do here in Atlanta or New York, right? Like why
Well,
go all the way across the world to do it?
man, I say, man, in every culture, you got trick type of dudes, you got playeristic type of dudes, and just square regular dude. So it happens here, it happens in Brazil, it happens, Ukraine. It's kind of like wherever you personality is you gonna just bring that with you wherever you go. So I do agree with you. It is. I heard a lot about that tricking, man. Uh, but I think that if they a trick here, they gonna be a trick there too. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yep.
But I would also say that no matter what lane that you in, whether you call yourself a player, whether you just want to get married, have one chick, or you want to be a trick, all I would say that probably going overseas would be better for each type of individual personality. But I have heard, definitely with the tricking, man. I heard some dudes complain about uh, one brother that was just on the I was just listening to him. I don't remember his name. He was just speaking, but he had mentioned that was it Ukraine, how people would go to Ukraine and saturate the market with tricking, and then elevate the women's belief about what they supposed to be receiving. You know what I mean? So
Inflated hypergamy.
yeah, exactly. So these chicks are like happy just to have like company with the men, but because I heard a dude that be down in Brazil. Let's say, for example, the chick is used to receiving, I don't know, $10 per sex or whatever the price is, $20. And so they would give the chick $20, but then, give her an extra 10, you know what I'm saying? So you raising the price of pussy uh, and making it hard for
See,
the, regular tricks. And you're making it hard for regular dudes. And you're making it hard for players.
It's true.
Because that's, you kind of, yeah, you're extending, this woman is, happy with little or nothing. And you up here raising the value. So thank God that hasn't, you know, been too bad, you know, around the world. Because
right,
in
right,
my
right.
opinion, it's better to keep them desperate and shit.
Yep.
Let them be humble, submissive, and desperate as opposed to Americanizing them. A lot of American men be wanting to. They got some kind of a complex, man, where they trying to. They like the woman to be over them, so they have to. They like elevate the female. You know what I'm saying? And I would hate for that to happen overseas. I know it can't happen to the same degree as it is in America, but
Oh, it's gonna happen. It's
still.
gonna happen, sir.
Well, I
Like
would hope not to the same degree,
yeah, we've got limited time to act. That's why I'm trying to influence brothers to hurry up and get their passports and get
Yeah,
get a plane ticket and do something because feminism is spreading everywhere.
Yeah, yeah.
You
it's like
know.
a virus, man.
Yeah. Anybody got any Caribbean experience?
Me.
I'm gonna talk about a little bit after you. You can go ahead and then I'm gonna say a little bit about Dominican Republic because
Actually,
like a
no,
lot of
you
guys
go.
in school.
Yeah.
You go about the Dominican because I think I already spoke about the
Oh yeah, you
Caribbean.
did.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of guys think the DR is the place to be, and I guess it's possible, but you're gonna be searching for like the needle in the haystack because they've turned that whole island into a, I guess a whorehouse, you might say.
Yeah.
Like all the women there are pretty much thinking in a state of mind of being a gold digging whore. Like it's almost as bad as Black America there. Now, of course, you don't have the laws. The laws are not like the American court system, so it's still better in that sense. But you're gonna be dealing with whores. They setting up guys. They getting guys' heads chopped off. Guys getting cut up into 20 pieces and thrown in the ocean.
Damn.
So Yeah, they setting up dudes. But if you can find a good one there, I mean, it's another place like Africa, like I was saying earlier, where it's easy to get a business going really fast, less paperwork. Your money, you bring in money from America, your money will go further. You know, if you can come up with $40,000, $50,000, you can go to the Caribbean, a place like Dominican Republic, and never come back.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
I say the same thing about East Africa. You know, you can never come back. You don't have to ever come back. But it's all about the laws, man. And I think
Because
it's, oh, go ahead, go
sorry,
ahead.
go on. Yeah, because like everyone's like, because I always watch a lot of YouTube channels, people always talking about the Dominican Republic and things like that. Is I I don't understand the mentality, right? In regards of why would you travel to trick when you could trick in your own hometown? Because whenever you look at when you're traveling across, let's say overseas, right? Like when I really, this is my humble opinion, I just see it as you're going there to get a good one or someone to settle down. I know some people go there for sex tourism and things like that. Fair enough.
I have no
But
problem with sex tourism, by the way.
yeah, and neither do I. But it's like, why do you guys like hype it up so much to go there? But they're just spending money to go and basically buy pussy there. I don't get it.
I say go and don't spend money. You can still get with the women there without tricking.
That's
That's
what I
what
was
I
thinking.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Yep.
I'm hearing that a lot of the guys that talk about the Dominican Republic. Well, this is kind of like a kind of answer to Senator of Truth. I mean, I haven't
Yeah.
done it personally, but what I'm hearing is that the levels of the women is way higher there. Like, do you know what I'm saying? In terms of their attractiveness, like, do you know what I mean? Like, if you was like whether like in London or you was in the States, whatever, and you was tricking, the value for money is not gonna be the same level. Like, do you know what I mean? You're gonna get a bad bitch in the Dominican Republic for the same money you're gonna pay for an average to whack hoe. Like, do you know what
10,
I'm saying? So,
10
like,
US dollars. 10
yeah,
US dollars will
Yeah, I
get you a
get that.
top of the line chick.
it's a value for money thing, because a lot of dudes, you gotta remember, not many dudes have banged bad bitches in real life.
It's
Like,
true.
let's be real.
That's true.
Like, you know what I mean? Everyone talks about bad bitches. I want this. I've done this, but really, though, have you really though?
It's
Like,
true.
do you know what I mean? And
And the answer is
so,
no.
exactly. So when a guy comes around and he says, "Oh, you can go Dominican Republic," and then he shows a video of a bad fucking music video, caramel chick with long
Yeah.
hair, with her own hair, and he's saying, "I only spent like $20." I mean, everyone's gonna go. Like, everyone's morals are gonna get thrown out the window, and they're gonna go, and then they're gonna make their own video saying, "Yeah, look what I'm doing." You know what I'm saying? So
I
that's kind of like what my interpretation of when guys talk about the VR.
I've noticed that a lot. A lot. It's, I don't know. Maybe it's to do with bragging. I don't know, but that's what I tend to see, because I see a lot of videos. People being in India. Just tricking of women. I'm like, okay, I understand. Thank you for asking the question, King Riches, in regards to that. You know, talking about the money to, let's say, value ratio of the women. Fair enough. I get that.
Yeah, man. It kind of comes down to, like I said, whatever the person is. If they're a player, they're gonna have better quality women to play on overseas. If they're a trick, they're gonna have better quality women to trick on. And if they are marriage-minded dude, they're gonna have better quality chicks to acquire specifically for marriage. So shit, man, whatever specific realm you in, it's gonna be better overseas. Uh, but man, I personally, y'all might have better experience, but I ain't never seen as many beautiful women as I did. I didn't understand beauty till I went to Colombia, man. You understand? Like, small stomachs, big round booties. I like in abundance. You know what I'm saying? Like, so me personally ain't no trickish dude. I personally don't like that relationship. I like more, general, like authentic shit. I don't like the pay me and then that's not my realm. But some
Same.
other dude that's his realm. So
Yeah.
my realm is a different, joint. But everybody is in, play the position at the end, whatever. But I think that in each whatever realm you in, you're gonna you're gonna have a better, you're gonna be able to acquire better quality chicks. And I agree with the brother who was just speaking about. Yeah, man, you go overseas, you gonna see you spending $20. Shit, if instead of spending $100 on a average bitch up here, you go down there and spend 10. What you say, $10 US, and you get like a model looking chick. So absolutely, the quality is better whatever realm you in, man. And then
Yeah,
plus, like the brother had mentioned, you had mentioned about the laws, man. Them laws here, whew, that's one of the benefits of overseas. You can stay kind of like transient. You know what I'm saying? Women can't get at your pockets like that.
yeah, that's the thing. It's not so much that the women are so different. It's just the
Yeah,
laws are different. Women are the same everywhere, pretty much. At the end of the
absolutely.
day, you can choose. Do you want a hypergamist who's feminine, or do you want a feminist woman who's masculine?
Yeah, yeah.
That's the only two choices. Because she's gonna be a hypergamist if she is feminine. Feminine. You know what I'm saying?
Hey,
Yeah.
can I say one thing real quick though?
Go ahead, bro.
The first day I got back to the UK and I was in central London on the way back to my house, man, I felt like I was still in the States, man. I saw like dark skinned women, like the first woman that, that really stuck out in my mind. She was dark skinned, she had the weave, she had a big pregnant belly, wearing a, she was wearing a revealing fucking dress. It was a hot day, I'm not gonna lie, but she was wearing like a kind of like a dress that I don't feel like a pregnant woman should have been wearing.
Uh,
And she had a big tattoo going from across her shoulder around to her chest. And I was like,
uh,
God damn, like, did I even like leave the States? Like, really, like, it's like I didn't go anywhere. I just couldn't believe it. I just thought I just had to say that, man. I just had to say that.
Yeah, weave is one of the top businesses, especially in Africa and the Caribbean. If you want to sell weave and open up you a little spot, that's another business to get into.
Yeah, that's $1 billion business right there.
I don't
Billion.
know. I prefer natural hair though for some reason.
Oh, I
Figure if I
love
want a
natural hair.
chick,
I'm the same.
I figure if I want a chick that looks like a white chick, I might as well get with a white chick.
right, right.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they ain't no problem. They ain't no problem selling it. Like, you know what I mean? You don't want your woman to wear it, but you can sell that bitch. That's just like
Oh yeah, that hustle.
that's just like drugs. Like, you don't have to take it. You just sell it.
Right.
yeah, yeah. Black women is
Exactly.
addicted to that weave.
Hey,
Man.
disclaimer: I'm not condoning selling drugs. Disclaimer. Anyway,
Right.
Man, how's everything going on over there in the UK, man? I had a couple friends I've been talking to over there, man. I'm really, really thinking about going over there, man.
well, if you come over to the UK,
Uh-huh.
go to London. Don't go to these outside London areas because it's dead. Like, go to
Yeah.
London. I Senator can agree. I'm sure you will agree with that. Go to
Yeah,
London.
What
it's
about
that.
Manchester?
Yeah, I was gonna say you could go to Birmingham, Manchester, maybe Bristol as well. But
Oh, okay,
if you
okay.
really want the London, if you really want the experience, go to London. Like, you know what I mean? That's what I think.
Oh, okay, okay. 'Cause I
Because
got a
like
friend of mine. He was telling me, man, you got to hit up Manchester, and he was like, man, yeah, you
Yeah,
can.
Manchester's a little cheaper than London.
Oh, okay, okay. He was
Just
saying,
a
man,
little
yeah, you
bit
got
though.
fat chicks over there too, but uh, the how now y'all can attest to it, or correct me if I'm wrong, but he was saying basically like, as a black man, you could pretty much easily get 9 black chicks. You know what I'm saying? But what
See,
do y'all think?
that's mad that you say that, innit? Yeah. Like, but as I said, if you're in London, it's a different animal, innit? Like, I'm sure Senator can chime in on this. But like, as where I'm at outside of London, I wouldn't really agree with that. But I think I'm too I'm too niggerish in a way. Like, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So, like,
I
as I
could
said
chime in.
before I went to the States, I only messed with black girls. Like, I was urban. I was a nigger. Like, you know what I mean? So you know, I'm sure Senator can say something about that as well.
Well,
Well,
can I say something real quick? I mean,
yeah,
I was telling the guys I lived in London for 16 months. Now, of course, as a Muslim, I gotta get married. I just can't bang around like I used to prior to Islam. But
yeah,
well, my experience was when trying to meet like a woman to marry. You know, dude, zero success with black women there. I met Yemenis, Poles, all sorts, South Americans, but like black women, man, completely zero in the 16 months. No experience with a black British woman whatsoever. Not even a non-black British woman, not even an African or anything. Just complete Arabs, Asians, everything but black women. I don't know
What's the
what the heck it
problem?
was.
yeah. That's
What's
what I
that?
asked.
What's the problem? You aren't missing out.
No, I'm just saying. I mean, I'm just saying. He was asking. I'm just saying that was my experience.
Well, hey, I
Killed
agree.
it,
Hey, I agree. You
Y'all
say
are
you're not
wrong,
missing
man.
out. You say you're not
Y'all
missing out.
wrong.
But if we want children that look like us, that's the thing. Like, if you want children that look like you, I think Africa and the Caribbean are our only option.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree. I
I
totally agree
agree.
with that.
Dude, I'm mixed, so I'm somewhat mixed, so I can just go any of the fuck where, and probably wouldn't matter in my case. But yeah, I see where some of you guys coming from. Some guys do want to keep that African heritage and African lineage, the black skin lineage, in which, hey, I can't blame you guys for, quite frankly. And if it's seeking a black family, as I stated, African American women are probably your least bet. My thing when it comes to Caribbeans and African women is that a lot of Caribbean women, I'm not sure what it is. There are some who are cooperative, don't get me wrong, way more than African American women, but some of them are picking up this Rihanna complex, and it's really turning me off, honestly. I don't need a Caribbean trick or a Caribbean bitch who is acting like a strict hood rat with an accent. That's okay. And as a lot of these African women are concerned, yeah, they're better, they're cooked, they're clean, they're more pleasant, but too many of them, in my opinion, I'll state this, too many of them, in my opinion, tend to lean towards Bedouin territory.
Most
So,
definitely.
so,
Most
so,
definitely. Yeah.
so I mean, if you want to have your share of African women or Caribbean women, just be careful and don't go marrying the first one that treats you decent.
Like I made a mistake of doing.
When was this?
This was years back. This was like 5, 6 years ago. But like, yeah, no, you're telling the truth. I say if you're gonna go to Africa or the Caribbean, just don't be in the cities once again. Go
Yeah.
to the rural areas, go to the countryside. That's where you'll find, somebody that's more amicable for building a family. And
Definitely.
like Square Peg said on one of the comments he left on one of my videos, he said a lot of guys, something like a lot of guys are they see the woman as the ends of building a family instead of the means. And I think the woman should be the means to building a family, not the ends. That was a great comment.
Yeah.
To just use her as a tool.
Well, yeah, that's a gem right there. That boils down to the basically like a woman is not the center of a man's life; she's an accessory to it. A lot of guys just make that mistake.
Oh yeah, a woman. I think that here in America we just over. I know I don't think this. We overvalue women. That's just the culture of America. And a lot of especially brothers, they raised by their mama. You know what I mean? And they don't have uh, like a conflicting point of view from their father because he probably wasn't around or whatever she did to make sure he ain't around. So we overvalue these women. You know what I'm saying? So as opposed to having her being a center, you gotta. I mean, you gotta kind of, like you said, man, use her as, I ain't gonna say user, but have her as an accessory, man, a tool. She's supposed to be a helper. She's supposed to be, what I'm saying. But in this country, we overvalue these women. You know what I'm saying? I'm not against women. I'm just against raising them up to goddess status. You know what I'm saying? The woman place is supposed to be a servant. I mean, That's not nothing wrong with that. That's a wonderful place. The problem is that the female in this country, well, Western women, I would say, are not in a natural role. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
That's why
Anyway,
they're
I don't want to babble too much.
that's why they're upset. That's why they're all depressed because they're not in their natural role.
Absolutely.
Like when they're in their natural role, they're happy.
That's true.
You know, you mentioned it was a what was it? A survey or something. It was on YouTube, and they were talking about happiness levels so far as the women, and they said like back in the 70s and stuff, their women's happiness levels was higher than they are now, because like you just said, they're not in their natural role, man. So they're, you know, for example, why is a Black American woman so angry? Like you got every single thing going for you. You understand me? Like, why are you angry? You know what I'm saying? So
They're looking up at that white patriarchy, though.
yeah, and they can't be the white man's actual woman. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They can only be like, you know, what's that name of that show? Scandal. You know what I'm
The bed
saying?
went.
The bed went. They love that role, but then
Yeah.
they hate it, but then they love it, you know.
But that's why they mad at black men too, because they're looking at us like we're supposed to surpass white men. And it's like, it's not going to happen when only 13% of the population. It's not going to happen. And then they mad at
Not
us.
gonna happen.
And then they mad. And then plus they mad at white men because white men don't want them. They mad at white women because white women where they want to be. And that's where I think a lot of the swirlers are at, where all these swirlers are coming from, because their mind is just fucked up.
Man.
Hey, you just hit the nail on the head, man. You hit the nail on the head. That's where it is. Because a lot of the time, yeah. Hold on, it's noisy here. The thing is, yeah, a lot of black women, they can't understand the fact, they can't come to terms with the fact that they will never be the standard of beauty. They need to just get over that and stop trying. Like, do you know what I mean? And stop crying about it. Like, you know what I mean? But they never will, innit? They just can't come to terms with that shit.
Yep.
Yeah, but they just so fucking confused though, because like I'm kind of in the same camp as Xanatos and Senator, where it's like black women don't want to fuck with me. Like the only black woman I've ever fucked with, she was a conservative Republican. You know what I'm saying?
So then
It's like
she
most
still
of the chicks
probably
like
didn't
around
wanna
where I
fuck with you.
live, they don't want to fuck with me. So it's like I love black women, I love how they look, but the attitude and shit, and they be calling me white boy and all that shit. I'm like, I don't got time for this shit.
Hey, you
And then
must
they
be
turn around.
in a very urban like city or something like that. Then.
Yeah, I'm like originally from like New York area and shit, but
Oh yeah.
I bet you it's
That's
mostly
obvious.
dark skin. I bet you it's mostly dark skinned women, the same ones that complain that we don't want them. I bet you they're the ones calling you white boy.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but dark
And then
skinned
they
women need
wonder.
to shut the f up, man.
Well, don't get me wrong. Like,
That's the thing. That's the reason why I don't. I used to be on the thing of like, I'm not a pro black dude, so to speak, but I do kind of encourage the black family and whatnot. But at the same time, I can understand why a lot of black dudes, like in the States and the UK, do the interracial thing, because a lot of our women are just fucked up and they're on dates and you can't work with them because
Yeah.
they're just so fucked up in their own head. Like they hate themselves first of all, and if they don't love themselves, how are they gonna love a guy? In fact, I don't think women can love guys in this day and age anyway. But
That's the truth.
You know?
but especially black women towards black men, it's just like there's always a power struggle. They always want to be in power, but they want to be, you know, looked after. They want to be the princess, but they want to be the boss at the same time. It's some fucked up psycho shit. And who's got
Yeah.
time to work with that when you can meet fucking Kimberly down the road, who's just gonna fucking suck your dick and fuck you whenever you want to make her a sandwich and not really ask for nothing like that.
Yep.
Well, she will ask, but she won't give you the same power struggle.
Yep.
Yeah, it's true. It's true because, like, the thing is here in the UK, like, sometimes, I'm not saying all of them, but, like, quite there's a lot of women, white women who are, like, very catering to, let's say, like, black men. I've always noticed that. Like, I got, like, I got a family, like, a few family relatives who have a good family with a white woman, and, you know, they have mixed race kids or whatever, right? And I do tend to see that. I do tend to see that a lot of white women here do tend to like the black man in the UK. But it's really what class the woman's in. That's the main thing as well. Because like, say for example, you're like in a higher class in the UK, right? They ain't really gonna mess with you. Like, let's say the Windsor women, right? They're just gonna be dealing with like white chicks, and I mean white guys. Not gonna be so much. But if you go like in a more urban middle class, maybe upper middle class, then you will start seeing white women with black men and things like that. So yeah.
I got a question from the chat room. I think Xanatos Clutch may be able to answer this, or anybody else who wants to take it can chime in
Yo,
on it. Frank Lucas is saying, besides Brazil, what other international communities exist where brothers are at? I know Ghana. I know Ghana for sure, but go ahead.
um, as far as Brazil, and quite frankly, I'm suspicious the international communities in Brazil that consist of black men because there has been too many of them, and these are the kind of guys who trick. So that's why I'm very suspicious when it comes to Brazil. As far as communities or countries where you see a good group of black men, I know Germany's one. Japan is another one. Australia is an underrated place. Although they don't, unlike in Germany and Japan where you have bases there, Australia is just a place where it's just well known for liking black men, particularly the muscular black men, because men in Australia they focus on fitness and um, bodybuilding, all this sort of kind of stuff. So if you're a black dude who has a fit body, you'll be fine there. I would say historically there's been an expatriated community in France, although I'm not sure how big that is these days. But historically, you have a lot of entertainers and artists who will flee America if once they had enough and would reside in France. Um, you got to look where a lot of American businesses, and particularly a lot of American military bases, are if you want to find that um, black male community of just expatriates, because a lot of these, yes, they are military guys who are American citizens who are just working in that particular country, but you'll find in places like Germany and Japan that once they retire, once they get their 20 years in, either they become contractors or they just retire altogether and settle in that country and then just start their own businesses.
I see. Yeah.
I had a quick question, Guy King.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was doing some research. I heard that specifically about Ghana, they were talking about that we could, as the black diaspora, we can get what do you call it, dual citizenship. And then number two, they were talking about land for the diaspora, like descendants of slaves that we can in Ghana. This is stuff I heard, but I don't know if you guys know more about
I'll tell
land
you.
and property and stuff for us.
Yeah, I'll tell you about what I know about Ghana. I've heard that too, and I've been there. I've met blacks from here who moved there. They're doing pretty well. They don't complain. Um, they encourage me to move there. I've heard about we can get land, but they want you to own a business. They want you to be running something. They're not just going to give it to you just to be there and be a
Oh, okay,
useless feeder, I guess you might call it.
okay.
But there's a huge migration of Black Americans that are in Ghana, and they're not in the main cities. They're out in the countryside doing their own thing. I think there's over 50,000 of us living there
Wow.
together. Um, and they're running businesses. Now, I don't know how successful their businesses are or anything like that, but they're there
Cool.
and they're doing it. Ghana is making it a whole lot easier for us to repatriate. The reason I don't know a whole lot more about it is because I'm not interested in Ghana.
Gotcha. Okay.
You
Yeah,
know,
man, I was just thinking about that, man. I heard it, so I said, "Hey, y'all heard that one? The guy from the Six had posted a video about Judge Joe Brown, and he was. Did y'all see that video? It was about 2 hours, man. It was a great vid.
now tell us about it. I don't know.
Yeah, he was going into Willie Lynch and Judge Joe Brown, the old brother, and and he just broke it down, man, eloquently, man. I'm gonna look for that video right now, and I'll just post it in the chat, man. But it was an outstanding video.
That's cool. Yeah, Ghana. The reason I didn't like Ghana, it was a little bit too much American or Western thinking going on for me.
Hmm.
When I leave the country, I'm trying to get around something else. I'm not trying to be around people that want to be American. You know.
Yeah, I want to say something also, just in regards to I think what's his name, Forrest Flags, was saying. It is difficult. I've noticed in like my travels to go into an environment where there has been a large number of Black Americans prior to you that have been tricking. It really just messes up everything. How is that? I mean, when we look at that entire mentality and that entire behavior type, how has it been working for us in the U.S.? So now to go somewhere else and export it, you know,
You talking about the entertainment media?
yeah, just basically just going somewhere to bang chicks. Um,
Oh,
it
okay.
hasn't been working for us at home. It's really it's created the environment we have now. And this is I say this before, male thirst is our greatest enemy. You know, male thirst is an enemy to men, and the necessity to practice and understand uh, the deferral of gratification is underrated. Nonetheless, this is one of the problems that you face in other communities, and why when we were talking earlier about like bad reputations, why people look at us in a bad way, because the first thing they think is, oh, there's those Black guys from America, they want to bang our women. And some cultures and societies don't have such an extreme problem with horrorism that we do in America, and they don't want it, but they associate us with bringing that into the country. So you have to look at like some of that also, and so it sounds a bit harsh, but the reality is I prefer to go into environments where there have been fewer Black Americans before me. You tend to have a warmer welcome, you know.
I would agree.
I'd like to say something. I totally agree that guys need to stop focusing on hoes, innit? Because I made a couple videos, talking about how guys need to like focus on themselves and stop chasing hoes, whatnot. So I totally agree with that. Um, and it's I think that a lot of the time when Black men in particular get this stereotype of, oh, he's just here to fuck our women, he just wants to fuck everything. I think it's kind of bullshit, because all men want to bang. Do you
Right.
know what I'm saying? But I think it's a social programming that is everywhere, that makes everyone think of Black men at, like, first as the dogs. Oh, they just have the dick swinging and they just want to fuck everything. No, I think all men want to fuck. You know what I'm
Hell
saying?
yeah.
I think it's a stereotype to keep Black men down in a way, because that's one of the reasons why you go to some places and then the women will be kind of standoffish from you, just because you're a Black
I
dude, because,
agree.
oh, he just wants to fuck.
Absolutely.
You
I
know what I'm
said
Absolutely.
this
saying?
earlier though, didn't I? Remember when I was talking about you see people complaining, but it's not the women that are complaining, about Black men and relationships with Black men. Absolutely, I agree. Generally, you find that you're warmly welcomed by the women. It's the men who generally look down on you. But since we're talking about like building and moving to other societies, if you're going to do that, you can't do it you're going to need those men, especially if you're going into a patriarchal society. So one of the worst ways to try and build a network in a new environment is go there and start just randomly banging women. How are we going to set up in an environment like that? We're automatically going to create a hostile environment for yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Certainly.
I get what you're saying 100%. I'm just saying that, like, I feel like,
No,
even
absolutely.
I
All
feel
men are
like
thirsty.
yeah, even if you aren't trying to do that, you've already got that stereotype before you even got there, just because you're a Black dude. Because it's in the media, it's everywhere.
And
You
that's
know,
why I say stay out of the cities, because you got to go to places where they don't have TV. But yeah, you're right. You're right. Exactly.
Or
You got to go to the
or,
countryside. Go ahead.
Would even
or
say that in the U.S. Stay out of the cities.
Yep. You about to say something, Senator?
I
or
wasn't.
or before we do that, that's one of the reasons why I advocate getting rid of this ghetto swag bag yo-yo yippity whoop shit from the image of black men.
Let me
We were perfectly fine in the 80s and early 90s of being seen as masculine, tough, rough guys who can probably lay it down in the bedroom as we could on the court or in the field without this thug image. And I think a lot of that thug image really fucked us over, especially when we got into the mid 90s, late 90s, and especially from the 2000s since. It's benefited no one.
totally
I
agree.
I yeah, I agree with that, but like at the same time, yeah, I feel like you got to remember that we are not like in control of the media.
I was
You know what I'm
gonna say that.
So
Yeah.
We are not in control. We're not in control of the media.
yeah, it's
We're-
all well and good saying, okay, we need to get rid of all this niggerish stereotypes, whatever. All right, cool. Like me, for instance, yeah, I'll tell you before I came to the States and that I was one of those dudes with that mentality. I'm not one of those dudes right now, but even with that being said, when people look at me, they already have this idea in their head of I am that guy. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of that comes from music videos and the internet and TV shows and all of that shit. I mean, think about it. In all these movies, yeah, that you watch, they and it has like the black element in there. Whenever they show these guys, they're always wearing a chain. They always got to have a big car. They're always trying to get a bad bitch. It's not black. It's not black people per se that are in charge of this programming. Do you know what I mean? So
No, it's
I
not.
saying that we need to get away from that. I totally agree with that, but you got to understand it's not just it's not one sided. Is many sides to this shit.
Let me say.
No, it's true.
Let me
But
ask. So
well, here's the thing about it. There are other
I'll go.
minorities. There are other minorities who are displayed just as bad, if not worse, than African Americans.
I just wanted
But
to say that.
other minorities did their damnness and partook and actively removing themselves from the stereotype of what was depicted by the greater media, to the point that the mainstream media knew that it would have been discredited if they would have kept on portraying the stereotypes. Yes, we don't control the media, but we do control our own individual image. And every African American male, as an individual, is going to have to decide to either drop the stereotypical image or keep on the stereotypical image. And we all know the one main reason why a lot of blacks keep with the stereotypical image, whether it's the ebonics, the chains, the snapbacks, the big tees, it's because to impress the opposite sex.
It's for
Yeah,
it's a
I
mating
That's how it
strategy.
is. And
That's true.
once you all realize that there is a world of women who couldn't care less if you were a stereotypical black, or would like you even more if you were a non-stereotypical black man. I think the quicker black men will realize that dressing like a swag bag, like you just got out of some fucking rap video, doesn't have to happen.
It's
All right.
true because I think that was Zanatos who was saying that, Clutch was saying that.
Yes.
Yeah, like in regards to that, that's very true because in the UK, believe it or not, when people actually look at me, like even though I'm like black, right? Like people don't believe it or not, doesn't actually view me as a stereotypical black guy. All right. So what you were saying about the individual, having control of your individual image is very true, because I remember one experience that pretty much confirmed that they saw me as not the stereotype was when I was at a seminar talking about autism. All right. And basically, as soon as they heard me speaking and basically the way I was acting in regards to that, the organizer, a whole bunch of like black women, other type of women, and men as well, was basically pretty much going to the so-called organizer of the seminar and saying, where did you get this guy from? Where has he been? I've never seen a guy of that color act like this before, and yada yada yada. And it's trust me, it was so funny. It was in a way it came to my benefit, right? Because there's people, because I'm very concentrated in the autism community. That's why I'm going to make a YouTube channel for that. Basically helping people with autism, solutions. It was so funny to see that. You don't understand how funny it was. And it was like there was one point where someone actually turned around and called me a coconut. So I was like, okay, I don't think I've embraced. Yeah, serious. Like people just think, oh, I haven't embraced the stereotype. When I'm light skinned, some people think that I'm evil because people look at me and sometimes some people think I'm a Muslim, some people think I'm Egyptian, some people think I'm French, some people think I'm Brazilian. I don't. It's a very odd experience. Like I remember once there was a very big instance, because when I grow my beard, right? I grow my beard, and I go to like one of these Muslim shops. All right, they're literally talking in there's the Arabic Muslim slang they speak in London, and I don't understand what you're talking about. I'm not Muslim, So yeah, you can control your so-called image, how you dress, how you portray yourself. Because I don't have this stereotypical. I don't wear like how the stereotypical clothing, and maybe that has something to do with me not attracting my own race, all right, and attracting non-races. But that's all I gotta say. I don't want to babble on too much.
I just wanna say one thing quick that like I agree with what Clutch said about a lot of the time like black dudes. A lot of the time, a lot of the bullshit that we do, it is to impress like women, like what I mean, the urban women, the wrong type of women who are women that will usually fuck up our lives anyway, in one way or another. So it's a mad cycle in it, like do you know what I mean? And I wasn't trying to disagree with what you were saying about being as an individual you have to make your own choices. I'm just saying that like even with that being said, and you are making the right choices as a black guy, yeah, before you've even had an opportunity to show who you are, you're already being judged. That's all I'm saying. Like
It's
like
true.
I think a lot of people try and act like, oh, it's all rainbows and it's all equal and nobody doesn't have no impressions of you. No, that's bullshit. I face that every day where I'm at right now, every fucking day. So
Wow.
no one can tell me that, oh, because if I do stuff different, come on, man.
This
Like
this
it's not like that. But I do totally agree with you as a man, as an individual, you have to do your best in it. You have to put the best version of yourself out there, and then good things should come to you from that.
Yes,
yeah.
indeed.
I had a quick statement, man. I was thinking that no matter how, yes, I agree, we do not actually portray, have control of our own imagery. But guess what? If you really look at it, black man in a suit, still a nigga. Rich black man, still a nigga. Uh,
Yeah,
ghetto dude, still a nigga. So what I'm saying is, we really look at it. You, I mean, you really look at it. There's postcards and stuff of black people being hung in tuxedos. So damn
So
how these
does
people look
that
at
give us
you.
an
Excellent.
excuse? Does that
Excellent
give us
point.
So
Well,
forget about how they look at you. We gotta embrace ourselves. I want to say a secondary thing. I do agree that I personally don't, dress hood and stuff. And I grew up in the hood. I'm around that, element, but I don't like it.
But can I
But at
say
the same
something?
time, it actually works for us.
let him
It's
finish though. Let
observation
let
of.
him finish. Let Forrest Black. You finish your
Sorry.
point.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, bro. Oh,
Oh, my bad. I don't want to cut you
uh,
off. I
no, no,
get
my bad.
scatterbrained and I
I
lose
was just
points pretty quick.
Yeah, I'm gonna just flip to this point. There, my bad. I'll finish this real quick. But yeah, if you really look at it, the bad boy image it actually works for us. Even though I don't dress like that, but it still worked for us. Like you looked at it as bad, and women like bad. I mean, you can look at it that way.
It does
Women like bad.
work,
So I'm
Yeah.
just saying,
but I'm gonna talk
I don't
about
look
that
at it
after.
as white
I
people
want.
do. Me personally. But go ahead,
I
my
don't
bad.
mean to cut you. Clutch wanted to say something before Abu.
Go ahead, fella.
all right? So yeah, you can use the old Negro catchphrase of no matter how much money nor how well you're dressed, you're still a nigga. A lot of this shit is basically used. And I'm not calling you out on it, but I see a lot of people, a lot of dusty, rusty, mediocre Negroes and ghetto niggas who use that catchphrase as the reason why they don't improve their own condition. That is probably one of the most overused catchphrases by people who are not reducing, but refusing to do anything and their lives to improve. So that's one of the reasons why I don't take that quote into too much consideration. It's because a lot of people just use it as a way just to lean on why they aren't doing as much as they can with the stuff they're given. This game of trying to like, get as much money or dress like you're not a thug. This isn't to get whites nor other people to like you. This is so you can get your stuff in order and cover your stuff, and whether it's going
Right.
overseas,
Well,
doing your own business, taking care of your own family, or so
yeah.
forth. This has nothing to do with getting whites or others to like you, quite frankly.
Right, right. I wasn't implying that, you know, that's why you. I'm just saying the reality. I know some people use it, the catchphrase or whatever, but the reality of it is, no matter whether you Floyd Mayweather, he don't get no respect. What I'm saying is
There's a
this:
reason
don't
why Floyd
try
doesn't get
to.
respect.
Well, let me finish, brother. Hold on. I'm saying that no matter what level you are as a black man in white society, you still a nigga. I mean, let's just be. I'm saying how they look at us. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying
Well,
that
that
you.
that's why you move. That's when you move.
Right. What I'm saying is that I'm not saying that you're concerned about your image in white society. I'm just saying I do agree with you that some people use that phrase to stay where they at, but the reality is you got to look at it for what it is. No matter how you try, not you, but a black person tries to impress or be acceptable to the whites, you ain't never gonna be acceptable. You know what I'm saying? Because whether you wearing a tuxedo, where you wearing a hoodie with your pants sagging, they look at us all the same exact way. So I'm not saying that you I'm not trying to personalize it to you, brother. I'm just saying that
Well,
you know
let me say
we
something
need to start.
before Abu American responds. I agree with
Go ahead.
both
I'm
of
sorry.
you. I see both of the
Yeah, yeah.
points that you're making. I agree with both sides. I get it. But I just want to say that in my travels abroad, it definitely works when you do fulfill the stereotype. That's when
Oh wow.
that's when the people acclimate towards you, to be honest.
Now,
At
I'm not
least me.
saying I'm not
But you
saying
know
I like
why?
fulfilling the
But
stereotype
hold on, let me say
personally.
real quick. I don't mean the stereotype completely. I'm talking about your dressing style, your swag
Oh, okay, gotcha.
only. If you dress like what they're used to seeing, that's when they like you overseas. But go
Yeah,
ahead, Abu.
but that's a problem also at the same time because you have to think about it. The only reason why they're pleased with it or they're comfortable with it is because it gives them a particular degree of familiarity based off of what they know from stereotypes in the
Exactly.
media,
True,
Exactly.
which can't
true,
be good.
True.
So
true.
I'm just going to rehash basically what Santos was saying. It's just I agree with him 100% in it that the current model that we're using, we haven't seen success. It's obvious we need to change the model. You know, um, anything otherwise, I personally would view as an excuse to do what's easy, which is not change. Not nothing. You know, if you look at the Chinese or the Far East Asians and whatnot, they've been shown and displayed as like triads and opium dealers for since I can remember in movies, but it's not believable because that's just not what you know them to be as a people when you meet them and when you congregate with them, you know? So the same thing stands true for us as a people. Now, of course, we're always going to have a negative image in the United States, period, point fact. We saw this with Black Wall Street. No matter how good you get, you're going to be, it boils down to the white patriarchy. They cannot stand any patriarchy, cannot stand competition within their own patriarchy. It was not built for you. So you're always going to have a negative image because you're always going to be the competition. That's basic R/K selection theory, and it's the negative part of it. Nonetheless, the image does have to change, no, regardless of how we're going to be perceived by outside parties. We know on the inside something's wrong. We see it. So anything that any statements we use, to not change it, it becomes kind of difficult to justify, in my humble opinion. I
Let me
mean,
Well,
ask you. Let
let
me
me.
ask.
I'm not saying don't change the image, but uh, I'm saying don't change it. I guess the question is, how do you change the image? You see what I'm saying? The people
We
who are
can't change.
conscious that a change needs to occur will actually make the change. Like me personally, I don't dress like that, but and many
I
of you
mean, you
brothers
got to
don't.
buy the
But
businesses though,
say it again.
because if you got to buy the businesses, because if you look at where the like, say for instance, like the hip hop stereotype came from, it's like most of the people that actually buy hip hop music are white people.
Right, right.
They want, like Abu was saying, they want that familiarity. They want to think of black people as that, so there's no competition because it's just a bunch of dumb niggas. Like it's not a bunch of guys in suits walking around trying to get educated.
Well, I'm
And
not
it's like
saying that. Yeah. No,
at
I'm
the
not
same
saying that
time,
the image.
black people.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, bro.
No. At the same time, kind of some black people kind of cling to the stereotype, which is a double-edged sword because it's like if you want to accept that all black people are good at basketball, all black people are good at sports and good at picking up women and all this other stuff, and they got big dicks, then you also have to accept that we're all criminals and we're all violent and we're all this and we're all that.
Yep.
Stereotype.
I mean, stereotypes gonna be there, man. I just try to go with the flow, man. I think we can only change ourselves personally, and until we have the power over the media, then we probably gonna, you know, we're subject to the particular how they portray us. You know what I'm saying? I
And
think the
The
that's
only part.
media is fucked up for everybody, though. Look at white people; they complain about the same shit. They complain
Well,
they Homer Simpson and fucking what
yeah,
Family Guy and all that shit. It's
but it ain't
the
to the
media
same.
don't give a fuck.
But it's not to the same degree. You know, our
no.
community, man, they go in on our community.
It's not. It's not to the same degree. Definitely
No,
Yeah, but
not.
that's because we let them. Because it's like, like for instance, like a little Boozy or somebody. If little Boozy
I
to
agree with
sign
you. I
them
just,
sign them checks or take them checks, it wouldn't happen, and that's the only problem.
man, I agree
True.
with you. I wish that
Yeah.
we had power over the. You know what I was thinking? Though YouTube is one of the most. I just thought about this. Is one of the most powerful media that we have. Uh, it's extremely powerful, and it's a direct social media, uh, instantaneous. And when you think about it, we are changing our image for the particular. You know, you do a video and you traveling or other brother doing. We are actually us as YouTubers are actually changing the image on a personal basis, and we're also giving an image and an ideology to other younger black brothers that there are possibilities outside of what they're currently doing. So if you think about it, we're actually powerfully changing our own imagery each YouTube video. I just, it's a thought I had.
I would
That's
agree,
true.
except
That's
for the
true.
fact that we see what's going on with the channels. They're getting ready to get rid of everybody.
Hell yeah, man. What the fuck, man?
I know King
Man,
Riches know about that.
they trying to come after me, fam. Like, and I ain't even going in like that. Like, what the fuck? Seriously, man. Like, I can't even fucking like. Oh yeah, can I just say this? Like, my channel is still active. All my videos are still there. I just had to put them on private because there's a lot of bullshit going on, and I got some strikes, so I need to just be cool for a little while. And so, yeah, that's what I'm gonna say about that. But fucking yeah, man, it's political out here, man. They don't want to hear the truth, and they don't want to hear our opinions
You
about
know,
life.
you know why? Females are the majority. See, they get minority status and minority benefits, but they're the majority of the people living in society.
Yeah,
So they have to please them. That's what it comes
yeah,
down to.
it's fucked up. But I wanted to add to what for us black men said about YouTube. Another benefit of a lot of like black men, making these videos is that it's actually opening the eyes of like non-black people like as well. Like what I mean? So, all the stereotypes about us kinda are slowly getting broken down, not just by YouTube, but YouTube is powerful for that as well. Like, I know I have a lot of non-black subscribers and they be emailing me and I'll be like, yo, like I'm hoping that, they're not seeing me as a stereotype because when they hear me, I'm not going yo all the time. Like, what I mean? Even though I'm still a bit niggified, but I am trying to show a different light. Like,
What were
You
you
know,
asking?
I think part of like the changing of image and whatnot that's helping is well, not in terms of changing image, but just one thing that's really interesting is that when we look at like the red pill and the manosphere, the African American community, the black community, is technically seeing a canary in the mine for like what's going to happen in their community. So this is why you find like a lot of actually like you find, I guess you can call ethnic crossover viewers to black channels, especially those who deal with black issues. You know, I mean, I don't really go on a lot about black issues because you know the genetic makeup of my family. I come from an exceptionally diverse family, but people don't believe when I tell them my grandfather's as white as like he's white as Trump. He really is. But you know, um, we are as the African American community, the canary in the cage. We've been dealing with a pretty solid matriarchy for how many decades now? 5+ decades? Not decades. Sorry, generations. I mean, it's been how long since? I don't know. When is it? When did this really start? The solid African American matriarchy.
Probably during
What
like
is
the
it?
Great Migration when everybody moved into the cities from the farms.
Yeah, and it's been a nightmare. And they're looking at us for answers. They're looking at us as the how we don't want to end up, which is really that's really sad and pathetic when you think about it. Um,
Yeah,
so
you. So I'm gonna have to go because my live stream I was meant to do on my channel is starting soon. So I've got to go.
Thanks for coming on, brother.
No worries. Take care, everyone.
All right, now have a good stream.
You too.
All right, peace, bro.
Peace.
later, bro.
Yeah, but I was thinking about, man, if you really think about that, man, the power of the YouTube video, we have we might not have the major media and the millions and hundreds of millions of dollars and all that, but social media is extremely powerful, which is why, I know I say some offensive stuff on my videos, not trying to be, but I'm not trying to fit in, dude. I've never fit in. I don't care about fitting in white society. I'm about helping the few people that want to be helped, the black dudes and stuff, and I just, that's my goal. I know I'll never fit in. Neither do I care about fitting. But uh, I just want to see better in our community, man. And I think I'm just glad that I've personally helped, some brothers and directed them in whatever way I had the ability to do, man. So thanks all y'all for doing your vids and stuff, man. For real.
Yes, sir.
I think that it'll be one thing that I've noticed since I've been doing this YouTube stuff. Um,
Mm.
I'm still under a year in. Um, is that black men, like the black men that are putting out the regular content out here, they really need to start helping each other and working to build each other up. Like if they really want this to become something where we have a voice that has any power, everybody's trying to be like, do you know what I mean? Like I think that I'm not gonna say no names, but I just feel like there's certain people that they really just want to be on top of the hill, like what I mean, and they're not really trying to work with other guys, what I mean, when it would actually be beneficial for both parties, what I mean, and they will get a bigger voice, like what I mean. So like that's what I've noticed, like what I mean. But I don't know if anyone else thinks about that, but that's just my take. I think that
No,
would
I
be
definitely.
build the whole platform for black men, in America, in Europe, wherever, just globally, worldwide. It would, because really and truly, that's what other demographics do. But we're the only ones that are all trying to be at the top of the hill. Like
Crabs in the barrel.
it's very clicky.
Yeah, it's the crabs in the barrel thing. And I'm not gonna get into it on this stream. That's a topic for another video, but I know for sure that there
Yeah, I
are.
already talked to you about. I already talked
Yeah, yeah. There are definitely black men who are trying to hinder other black men's channels from blowing up. That's a fact. And that's all I'm gonna say about it on this stream.
I don't doubt it.
Yep.
I say, man, the more videos y'all do, the better. Hey, if they get rid of my channel, then hey, y'all keep it moving.
just make a new one, innit? That's it,
They
man.
just make
Yep.
a new one,
Yep.
But I agree, man. We should all help each other because there's more power in unity, and uh, that's one of the things we got to work on as black men, being more unified. Uh, and I think it's definitely been socially, we've been socially engineered to be individuals. And I agree with the brother because you see the whites, you see the Indians, you see the Arabs. They're all like connected. So this, if you really think about it, this call right here is a kind of a connection.
Yeah.
You know, it's a
Oh
way
yeah,
in the
for
right
sure,
direction. You know.
for sure, for sure. Um,
Yeah.
anybody got anything else they want to add? I know we're getting a little bit long here, 2.5 hours.
Dang.
I
Anybody?
apologize. I apologize for coming in late. You know what I mean? I'm on a different fucking timeline right now. So I apologize for coming in late. King.
Man, it's all good, brother. You here? You said your
Quick
piece.
question for King Riches about Africa.
Okay.
What are like self defense laws like out in Africa and stuff, or at least from what you know?
Self defense, bro. People are getting killed out there all the time, bro.
What are the law? What are the laws like? Like if you want to legally carry, is it legal to carry a gun and stuff like that, or what's up with that?
Let me
Like,
chime in. Can I chime in?
to be honest, I'm not qualified to answer that question because I know people that will carry whatever. I don't know what the laws are, so to speak, but I know people are carrying. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I know people that personally have been in situations in Nigeria where the law didn't really come into it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So a lot of, like, put it like this, there's a lot of corruption over there, innit? So the law can be bent. You know what I
Let
mean?
me
So,
let
That's what
me
I heard too.
let me chime in on what I. The reason why I said East Africa is what I think is the best place for us to be. East Africa is so safe because nobody has weapons. Nobody has weapons. Like you got police officers that don't
Hmm.
that are not armed. Like
I
are
that's
you
have to
why.
admit,
saying
I'm a strong advocate of weapons ownership. I'm an exceptionally strong advocate of gun
No, I'm
ownership.
not against it either. I'm not against it. I'm just saying that when you go to places like Burundi,
Yeah,
Rwanda, Uganda, Tanzania, nobody has a gun. Nobody. Half the police force does not have a gun. So you have to think how safe a place is if the police don't have guns.
are you talking about just East Africa? Because I know in West Africa it ain't like that.
No, I'm only talking about those countries I named. I don't condone going to West Africa. I don't really think West Africa is a good option. To be honest.
but I just
Yeah,
saw a
it's
study,
not safe, man.
and there's a direct correlation between disarming of a society and an increase in crime. In the West, it's been consistently proven that anytime they disarm a society, crime rates go up. Very odd, very interesting. I just read it yesterday. I think I still have the tab open. Oh no, I don't. I can find it though. It's very interesting.
Yeah,
Let me ask
I
y'all.
don't think this. I don't think the crime rates, as far as violent crimes, they're not up in East Africa. Now you always have to worry about petty crimes. There's a lot of thieves that are stealing little
Yeah.
shit, but that's little shit. Nobody's. It's not like there's a big murder rate and everyone's getting raped. That's not happening. But go ahead, Forrest, black man.
I had a quick question, you guys. What is the cheapest way that y'all have found to fly? I use a Skyscanner, but if y'all, had other ways, I'm definitely open to listen.
Cheapo Air seems to be good.
Okay,
CheapoAir.com
okay,
Yeah, I used Cheapo Air before.
okay.
seem to be good.
I stopped doing like long distance traveling lately. So I mean, in Europe, there's a lot of like low cost air carriers out here. In specific, Ryanair. I use them a lot. You
Oh,
can
okay.
fly almost anywhere in Europe, and including North Africa, which is of course not part of Europe, for like under 100 euros round trip. It's
Mm,
unbelievably
cool.
cheap. You know.
I heard about over in Europe the what they call it, the Euro Rail system.
Yeah,
Uh, that you can buy like what do you call it, a monthly subscription.
yeah, but I find the trains actually to be more expensive than Ryanair. It's really weird, man. And you've got like buses that are the trains are here are very expensive. I find the trains in Europe are exceptionally expensive. They have this bus called Flixbus, 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 and I mean the rates that you can ride with the bus, man, is so cheap. I wouldn't even consider the train these days. I wouldn't even consider it. It's just ridiculously expensive. It's unbelievable. It's cheaper to fly most of the time.
Okay. Well, hey, brothers, I got to get on out of here, man. Much respect to all y'all. Keep up the good work, man. Thank you for inviting me on the call, man. And, you know, if I can be of any help, let me know.
Thank you for coming on, man. Appreciate
All
it.
right, brothers, y'all take care now.
Take it easy.
Yep.
All right, guys. I'm gonna probably shut it down soon if y'all don't have nothing else.
No,
There
thanks
was
for
a
putting this
question.
together, guy. Cam.
Yeah,
There's
this
a
is
few
good
questions
stuff,
on
man.
the chat.
What's up? You
There
got
was a
some in
few
the chat?
questions on the chat if you wanted to address some of those.
Go ahead, man. Feel free to address anything you see.
Where was it? Let me see. Just trying to. There's a whole bunch going on here. Someone asked about multiple passports. Can we speak on second passports? I wouldn't speak on it, you know, given the time that we spent already. But Frank Lucas asked this question. I would advise. That's what I'm doing here in Germany. I plan on getting a second passport in Germany. I mean, I'm not really planning on staying here much longer than what that takes. So, if you can get like a passport from like what you would consider to be a valuable country, which is a Western country, which will allow you free travel without like a lot of visa complications, get one, and then you know, pick up another one of the country, probably the origin or the country that you want to do your businesses and look at transferring to. Because I think the concept and the idea that we're going to completely transfer over like African states and countries is unbelievable. I think it's too much of a culture shock to realistically believe that you're just going to pack up from the West and the lifestyle that you know, and then go pack up in a developing or a third world country and just live there comfortably. So I think it's important to have the benefits of a local passport and the benefits of a high-powered Western passport. Frank Lucas, addressing your passport question. That's my opinion. That's my take. I'm not saying that's gold or that's, you know, that's religion. I'm just saying that's my take on it.
I think that's wise, but I also think that we're going to reach a point where we're not going to have a choice. I think the West is just going to continue to going downhill.
Yep,
Yeah,
I agree.
if you're not preparing now, you're in trouble.
Yeah, I met a smart African American woman, the one seemingly smart African American woman I've ever met. And she was in Africa. Yeah, she was in Africa, and she was saying that eventually we're gonna all have to be here by choice or by force. I think she was right, but we'll see. You
It's
know,
better to go by choice, man.
exactly.
But
But the problem is, one thing that I'll say, like I made 2 videos about this. I agree with what Abu said about the culture shock, in particular for a lot of African Americans. That was going to be a major culture shock when they go over there, because you know, even I listen to I listen to loads of people on YouTube, yeah. But a lot of times, a lot of the dudes, even the ones that sound like they're intelligent, they carry a lot of ignorance about the world outside of America, and you know, a lot of people, if they was to actually like go to Africa, like they're gonna have to change their whole programmed mindset. Like, you know what I mean? They're gonna have to let go of some of the ignorance, because
True.
it's it's
see,
not gonna help
bro,
in the long run.
But see, that's why I
it
say
was
that it's
crazy
not
when
for
I was.
everybody. I say it's not for everybody. Like, I'm okay with just a few of us leaving. Like, it's not practical for everybody to leave. Let the majority of the idiots stay here and burn if that's what they got to do.
That's what's gonna happen.
Yeah, let
It's
it
the
be.
reality.
But those of us who can leave, who have a better outlook, you know, we'll be the ones that escape. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Just talking about basic culture shock. When I went to Kenya, it was just a complete and total like smack in the face. When my ex-wife, she said, "Don't drink out of the tap." Like, what? Don't drink the tap water. It's just like, are you serious? You know, in Germany, they don't even fluoridate the water here, so you can drink the tap water here. So to me, I mean, just the concept that I couldn't go to a sink and like, you know, open the tap and drink water. I mean, that's just unbelievable. You know how difficult that is? Because I do that here. I don't go buy bottled water, but they have super high quality water here. that's a cultural shock on a basic level that most people aren't even prepared for.
Yeah.
So
I see Frank Lucas in the chat room saying just a few hours away, Latin America, Mexico, Colombia, Brazil, the strongest economies. Frank Lucas, do you want to come in to hang out? Let me know if you want to come. I'll put the I'll send you the link before we shut down.
But yeah, I was gonna say, like even like some people, you know, like some people they may have carried like a lot of ignorant ideas about African countries and stuff like that, and then when they actually go there and see what it's like, a lot of people come back with a completely different outlook. Like, you know what I mean? And I think people need to be open to letting go of the ideas, the ignorance that they're holding on to, like, you know what I mean, and stop thinking that, you know, your little city or wherever you are in the world is the whole world, because it's not. Like, you know what I mean, and you can't comment on other people in their countries unless you actually go there and see for yourself. Don't just listen to what somebody else said. Oh, all those people are like this. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, you know what I mean? So that's all.
yeah, no, absolutely, man. At the beginning of the entire hangout, we had this. I'm not throwing the guy under the bus at all, but the one guy was talking about he has no interest in going to Africa whatsoever. I mean, yeah, this comes from like a perception, an outside perception, without having gone there. I'm not throwing him under the bus for it, but I'm just saying it's like there are perceptions that you find, especially in the African American community, that I've read online when they start talking about, I'm not going to Africa, and they start talking about this place that they've never been to. And I mean, I found my experiences in Kenya and even North Africa, even though it's predominantly Arab, it's all been positive. I mean, I haven't had a negative experience, on the continent, not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm putting a link in the chat room, so anybody that want to chime in, y'all could come on in, but just don't come here with no nonsense, man. You get bounced.
Yeah,
come with something intelligent to say. Go ahead.
This chat was very professional, man. I've been on some wild chats, man. So it was very professional. Motherfuckers waiting for everyone to finish talking and shit.
That's why I got you guys on here, man. Y'all some professional guys, man. Y'all got good channels. Intelligent brothers, man. Frank Lucas is on the line. How you doing?
Hey, what's up, fellas? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's up?
Appreciate it. Yeah, I wanted to just chime in on the different Latin American countries. I visited Mexico, different cities in Mexico, around like 4 or 5 times, and the lifestyle out there is completely free. There's even a large black population out there in a state called Guerrero.
Yeah, that's the South, right?
Yeah, that's the South. Yeah.
I was asking about that earlier.
And,
please speak on that.
Oh yeah. So the lifestyle is funny too, because most Mexicans, they're not even aware that Afro Mexicanos exist out there. And Guerrero is it's really laid back. The culture is very similar to that you find in just Africa in general. It's it's right by the coast, and people, the culture is just is still intact. It's not like different parts of Mexico, like Guadalajara or Tijuana. It's very laid back and chill, and it's much more affordable out there as well. And so, I definitely I'm trying to make that move out there, because that the conversion rate is just wonderful. You get about 18 pesos to the dollar, and it goes extremely far out there.
Yeah, see, I want to go out there. It's near Acapulco, right? And south of Acapulco is what I'm told.
Yeah, correct. Yep. Mm-hmm.
See, I gotta get out there, because if I can find women that look like us here, but they don't have this mind state, that's what I want.
Oh yeah, I mean, the American or Western influence is literally zero out there. They're very culturally conservative, and like I said, I've also been to Ghana, West Africa, and it's almost like a parallel. The culture is just it's very laid back. People still live off of the land too.
I found it to be different in Ghana. I didn't like Ghana. That was just my experience, though.
Oh, really? What?
I found it to be
You
westernized
just went
thinking.
to Accra?
Yeah, it was a cry and a
No.
booty. You familiar with a booty? The place that's it's like up the hill from Accra,
Oh,
like
nah.
30 minutes away.
I've just been to Accra and another one called Tama.
Okay, I never
Tama,
been
I
there.
think.
Okay, but yeah, I've heard good things about Ghana and other places I've never been. So I can't just shit on Ghana. It's a lot of places I haven't been. I've heard good things about, but
That's
Yeah.
that's
Mexico, man.
that's crazy. Because I don't know if I said this before, but like I don't know what it is, but for some reason, those South American, like I'm talking about attractive ones, they really like us brothers, like dark skinned guys. Like you know what I mean? I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the African influence, or what you were saying about how it's very much like Africa or whatever. But they really gravitate to like dark African, maybe even African looking dude or whatever. Like you know what I mean? Like it's different, man. It's different, like different. And me personally, they for some reason they just gravitate to me. So I'm definitely trying to get out there. You know what I mean? And make that move.
Yeah. The only thing is with I guess kind of Africa in general. I mean, I don't want to generalize, but it's being westernized right now. The Asians are putting a lot of money over there.
Exactly.
The Europeans have already been there, and they just see everything Western as progressive. And yeah, it's
And
just yeah.
and they value light skin because I'm a light skinned guy, and I did not appreciate being valued as special because of my skin color. I didn't
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
Oh,
yeah. The blue thing is crazy out there too.
I was talking about going to South America, man.
Oh yeah,
I,
Oh, okay.
I mean, look, obviously my heritage is in West Africa, like what I mean, and I will have some kind of roots there. But like I'm saying, at the end of the day, just go where you're appreciated and go where you're wanted. At the end of the day, like what I mean, like so. That's my take on it. If I'm can see that a lot of Hispanic or South American women like guys like me, and they are beautiful women, I'm gonna make that move. Like what I mean. But at the same time, I agree with. On the other hand, I agree with what you're saying. In particular, West Africa is becoming very westernized, Americanized, and shit. I do agree with that.
Yeah. As far as Latin America too, I mean those economies like in Brazil, Colombia, Mexico, Chile. I mean, there's a lot of stuff happening out there, and I don't know if you brothers have been keeping up with the cryptocurrency space, but that is a huge opportunity because a lot of the money that could be made in the cryptocurrency area. I mean, it's just not well. It's trackable for some of them, but for others, it's not that trackable. And I mean, if you can set yourself up where you're making income digitally, whether you're just pulling it over from freelancing or you got a couple of internet businesses set up. I mean, you could literally stay in Mexico for up to 6 months,
Yeah,
bounce around to a different. Yeah.
I'm invested in a cryptocurrency company right now. It's pretty good, man. Actually, I'm not complaining at all. It's really nice.
Yeah. Yeah. This is the time, I think. This is the time to get into the cryptos, whether you want to trade them or just to start trading in your dollars for cryptocurrencies because the opportunity is there.
Basically, the company I'm with, what they do is they provide you 40% return on investment every 140 days, and it's rock solid.
Wow.
Oh,
Yes,
damn.
and people are making money hand over fist, and it's ridiculous the amount of money that's coming out of it. The guy who brought me into it, and I mean these are numbers that I'm seeing; these are real numbers. In 6 months, he's made what was it? It was approximately 18,900 British pounds in 6 months. I mean, people don't make that in a year in the UK. He's made it in
Wow.
6 months.
That's crazy.
So is that an ICO that you're invested in right now?
Um, I can provide you with the link if you want to the company. It's 100% legit. It's not a what do you call it, multi-level marketing and none of that stuff. but they don't. They're very poor at marketing, and they don't have an actual marketing department. So actually, what they do is, even though it's not like these whole, what do you call it? Yeah, multi MLMs where you bring in your cousin, your uncle, and this one and whatever else. You advertise on their behalf. So if I give you a link, I'll give you my affiliate link. Now I'll benefit and nobody will lose. Nobody, I'll gain, but nobody's going to lose either. You don't have to bring people in. You can just straight invest and make your money. I can provide a link if you guys want. I mean,
I'd love for you to
100%
provide that link.
Oh
check
yeah,
it out.
definitely.
Alright.
Are you brothers also familiar with Reggie Middleton of the Veritasium blockchain company?
Never heard of that.
No.
Yeah, so there's a lot of these blockchain companies that have been raising ICOs, initial coin offerings, which is basically just like an IPO for the cryptocurrency space. And Reggie Middleton, he's like the only brother in this arena right now that I found out about. And they just had an ICO. I want to say about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and right now that token is up. I don't know, 100 times. I think it's priced at $170 a token. And I mean, this thing was selling for pennies on the dollar. So you guys should definitely look into ICOs as well. You got to do your research, of course, but a lot of people are making a lot of money from that, and it's unregulated right now too. So
Yeah, because now is the time, because the government is eventually going to clamp down on that shit.
oh yeah,
You know
most
it. You know
definitely.
what's gonna happen. Yep.
Yeah.
Because they're already trying to block people that come into the country with Bitcoin and stuff like that. You got to claim that now if you come in from outside of the country.
Oh really?
So it's like, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, they're definitely trying to lock that thing down.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
So that's my only real caution about it. Like the one dude that I check out, he always says, invest your lunch money, not your, rent money.
Right.
True.
Right. Because
Yeah.
you think it would be easier to shut it down than anything else, right?
And I posted the link down there. I don't know. Should I put the
They
main one?
can't shut it down. The way they're going to do it is that when you take your money out, they're going to hit you that way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, also and well, it's interesting too, because a lot of there's some cryptocurrencies out there that are trying to really privatize all of the transactions that are made on the network. There's one cryptocurrency called Monero that does this. Another one is called Zcash, and I think another one is Dash as well. And I mean, a lot of these currencies are used for like black market activities, but yeah, that's one thing a lot of the developers are trying to work on in order to keep this privacy thing up.
I see, man. Appreciate you bringing in that info, and thanks, Abu, for that link you just posted too.
No problem. Check it out.
I will for sure. Anybody got anything else?
I can't see the link. Is it in the chat?
No, it's in the group chat for us to see.
Yeah, I can't put it out on the page. It won't let me post links out there, so I guess YouTube blocks it.
Yeah. I'll send it to you, Riches, if you don't get it.
Yeah, can you send it to my email? I appreciate that, brother.
Yeah, it's cool. I just bookmarked it. Definitely gonna look into it. Well, if nobody else has anything on mind, man, we can shut down. We right up on 3 hours. Appreciate y'all coming on today. Appreciate everybody in the chat room. And
Appreciate it, brothers.
this is probably a discussion that can go on forever, man. I mean, this might not be the only. We might do it again.
Cool. Looking forward to it, Guy King, King
Yes,
Riches, all you brothers out there. Now is the time. Let's
and
get it.
everybody, you'll see the links to everybody who was on the hangout, everybody's channel in the description box. So subscribe to these guys, watch their videos. They've got good stuff.
Cool.
Anyway,
Yep.
Sky King signing off.
Thanks again for putting this together.
Yes,
King.
sir. Yes, sir, for sure. I'll have you guys on again soon. Hopefully, I'll have another video out by hopefully in a couple of days. Everybody, take care, man.
Cool.
Yeah, like
Later, fellas.
Yeah, like it.
Yep.
All right, y'all, take it easy.
Peace.
Alright.